nation we are rising with one love, with one goal, bringing solution, lifting up humanity. Let's rise high, standing tall, hand in hand. We are the unicorn, we are the stars. In it to win it, in it to win it, to win it. In it to win it, in it to win
Your next stop is Unpassive.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome, everyone. Before we start our webinar officially, I would just want all of us to observe a 1-minute silent prayer for our sister, Julie, and the doctor, Chloe. Let's pray for Chloe. She's in the hospital right now. The doctors just examine her to find out why she's having these severe headaches. So if we can just bow our heads, for those that bow your head, pray to any, all of us pray to one God at the end for God to intervene and just heal this little girl and let the headache subside. So let's bow our heads in prayers. Cover Chloe with the blood of Jesus. Father, take total control, visit her in the hospital, touch her with your healing hands. For this I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Debbie, continue. Benny.
I want to welcome each and everyone here. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. It all depends upon your location. To this amazing Julie Pierce Empowering Humanity. Today, I just want to thank each and everyone coming. but I am going to hand it over to Queen Joyce for her to introduce our mindset for tonight. Thank you. Queen Joyce.
Thank you, Dr. Benny. Thank you, everyone. It's so great to see you on tonight. Thank you, Dr. Pat, and everyone for being here on tonight. What a great night. As we said, we are praying for our beautiful sister, Julie, her daughter, Chloe, and we're holding them up in our prayers and just praying for complete healing, as Dr. Pat said. Tonight, we have a special person that's going to give us some talk about mindset on tonight. I'm just really excited to hear from her on tonight. She is my co-moderator, and she is a beautiful, beautiful woman inside and out. She just loves on passive. She loves people. She's on multiple webinars helping people out in any way that she can. She's always there. She supports. She is just a loving, beautiful woman, and we are excited to have her on tonight to talk about mindset. So, Sister Debbie, the floor is yours, the mic is yours. Welcome, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Sister Joyce. Thank you, everyone. I didn't know I was beautiful, but you make me look like a teenager, right? So blushing because you said I'm beautiful. Thank you. And all the other things you said about me.
You are
Well,
beautiful.
I appreciate having the opportunity to share today. And thank you, Sister Joyce. Thank you, Dr. Benny. And thank you, Sister Patience, Sister Dr. Patience. All of you are my sisters and my doctors and my all of the above and the unmentioned. Today is an amazing day because I did not look forward to speaking today, but I have to, because when the spirit calls, you have to answer, and that's where we are. And I want to speak to you today about a couple of virtues: patience, faith, and hope. And these are qualities that some people look at it as abstract concepts, but essential elements of a fulfilling, and they are resilient to life. I will start with patience. And we have several of them here. And one is my one and only sister, whose name is Patience. She has all these virtues. Patience is the art of enduring through challenges, setbacks, and you do that with a steady heart. It is the quiet strength that allows us to persevere when the path is not clear and when progress seems to be slower than we want it to be. Let us remember that great achievements are rarely instantaneous. They require time and persistence. And somehow, because of our human nature, we tend to shy away from that time. We're not persistent. But we should also and always remember that patience, in a lot of instances, is filled with frustration. But when you're frustrated, remind yourself that in every step, no matter how small, no matter how big, always set your eyes on the goal that you want to achieve. Patience is not something you can buy with money. It is not something that you inherit. It's inside you. And if you do not have it, find a way. Find a way to make sure you have patience in you, in your inner self, because in every path in your life, you will require it you will need it. And as I said earlier, I want to share 3 things. So that's about patience, and the next one is faith. Faith to me is an unwavering belief in your own abilities and the confidence that your efforts are not unnoticed, are not being noticed by the people that you dream, think of, and love. It is that inner conviction inside you that despite the difficulties you're going through, despite whatever you may face, whatever path your journey will take you, that journey has a purpose and a direction, and you have to follow that direction. And it comes from within. And the cultivating aspect of that faith means that you have to trust in the process, and primarily trust in yourself. Even though we know that the future is very uncertain, you still have to trust in yourself, your inner self. Because if you don't trust in yourself, you will not even be able to do it. I'll give you a reason for this one about faith and trust. 2 years ago this year, I had a car crashed, and I didn't even know how I made it out. And I refused to get a new car. I refused to drive. I just could not drive. But I had faith that someday I will do it. And I have not driven. But that faith that I had, it happened in the month of, when was I traveling? Antipi. When was it? August or July? One of those 2 months, we were traveling. We had to drive for about 35 hours, a couple of days, 2,000 plus miles. And I just had one person driving. And I'm still in that mindset of, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. I didn't have the faith that I could do it. And I had driven for over 3 decades before that incident. And something just said to myself, it's time for you to relieve and let go, because God has a reason why that happened, and God has a reason why you have to learn to move forward. I decided that I was going to do it, and when I sat behind the wheel, there was no stopping. That faith that I trusted myself into giving it to say, go forward. When I stepped on the pedals, it has not stopped. That was a couple of weeks today. I'm no longer helpless. I'm no longer hopeless. And that takes me to hope. And the hope I have is the light that guided me and will guide us through the darkest of times. It is the vision of a brighter future that keeps us from moving forward. It keeps us moving forward on a constant basis. Even when those obstacles seem unsurmountable, hope is that word. It's just 4 letters, but it means a lot. Hope fuels our motivation, it inspires, and it helps us to overcome the challenges that stand on our way. It reminds us that every setback It's a setback for the comeback, and that everything, regardless of what that everything is, will always end in a positive way. The beginning is irrelevant. It is the end that matters. I just want to say to each and every one of us who is disheartened because of unpassive or whatever is in your lives, just remember, don't give up on your dreams. Those dreams were there for a reason. Don't shatter them. Receive them. Receive them when they do come. They are worth every ounce, every effort, and the patience that we started with in the beginning. And the faith will sustain you, and the hope will illuminate and give you the light of the path that you will follow. Those temporal setbacks are not things that you should even reflect on. Do not doubt. Do not derail your progress. Instead, embrace the journey, because that journey could not happen until you start. And that journey has its ups and downs. And the visionary and how you visualize it is in your hands, in your eyes. And let us trust in ourselves, what we do, because life does not have a right direction, a right or a left or a center. No one knows their path in advance. You don't even see it unfolding until it's right there in front of you. Some people have the vision of seeing it in advance and others do not. In concluding, I just want to share with us that we should remember that patience, faith, and hope are not just words, but they are guiding principles that will help us navigate the complexities of life and achieve our aspirations. Let's continue to believe in ourselves, and we should never lose sight of our dreams. Our perseverance will turn obstacles into great opportunities, and our dedications will turn our dreams into realities. Regardless of where we are in our unpassive journeys, let us reflect in our respective lives, because we had lives before unpassive came, and then we merged them together, and we are living that life. Let us reflect, and as we reflect, let us not forget that as a family, anything that we hear, anyone that we meet and we know has the word unpassive, we share in the burden, we share in the prayers, we share in the vision, we share in the journey. And that being said, it's an endless journey. I want to appreciate the opportunity of speaking today. I want to thank each and everyone who has listened now, live, and will be listening in the future, and to say today is a day to remember. September 11 in America, for those who are there, is a day to remember. And for us in this forum also, it's a day to remember. We thank our CEO for giving us the opportunity, but let us thank ourselves for finding the opportunity to join this forum, because there is absolutely nowhere that you can go and find people who are so passionate about what they believe in, what they think and want to have, and let it come to fruition. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity, and I'll pass it back to my co-moderator, Sister Joyce Hicks, the one and only.
Oh my gosh, Sister Debbie, that was beautiful, awesome. Wow, that you just said some powerful, three powerful words: patience, faith, and hope. And you talked about them being essential, and that patience, it's endurance, and um patience to endure through challenging time. And Mal, you just said that patience is a thing that, it's about being persistent. And sometimes patience is filled with frustration, but we have to remind ourselves that every step that we take is toward our goals, and learn to embrace those frustrations and get through those things. Um, and you say if you don't have the patience, to find it somewhere within you, because you're going to need it in life no matter what. To get through many obstacles, to get through challenges in life, you have to have patience. Patience is so important. And then you talked about faith, unwavering belief. And sometimes we don't have that faith, but you talked about having that faith, and that the inner faith, that inner connection and inner conviction is a faith. And then that what we face sometimes, we don't realize that we need that faith to get through it. But it's cultivate your faith, trust in the process, and trust in yourself. And I love that when you said that, trust in yourself, trust in your inner self, because that faith is going to get you through so many things when you can't see it, but you can believe it, and you have that faith. So thank you for saying that. And then you hope. Wow. Hope is a light that guides us through some of the darkest times in our life. Sometimes we just don't have anything, but if we have hope, and we have those three things, we have the patience, faith, and hope, we can get through. It helps us to overcome so many obstacles and challenges that come up in life. And I love it when you said, hope is sometimes it's dark, but it's a set back, but it's a setup to come back. So we're set up to come back. Sometimes things feel like there's no hope, there's no way out, but it's just a setup. It's a setup for us to come back. And when we come back, we're even stronger and bigger. And I think about on passive, when I think about that, we had a setback. But Ash says when we come back, we're going to be bigger and stronger than ever before. But thank you so much that hope gives us light, and we have a vision and a path to follow. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on yourself. Embrace the journey, you know, and things are within our hands. It's in our hands, that we have to trust ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to have that hope. And thank you so much for saying that, because that was so powerful. Those three words, patience, faith, and hope. And we need those in life as a guiding light to get us through so many things in life. So, and as you said, as we reflect back on our lives, and we reflect back on our journey, and we share our journey with Unpassive. Before Unpassive, we had a life, and then when we found Unpassive, or Unpassive found us, however it was, we merged it all together, and now it becomes one big dream, one big hope. And we're having the patience and the faith that it's going to happen, and hope and believing that it's going to be there. So like you said, enjoy the journey, endure the journey, and we're enjoying it. We're so grateful and thankful for you to bring us that message. So we really appreciate you so much. That was very powerful words. And thank you so much. And you did say that 9/11 here in America, 9/11 is a day to remember, because it was very tragic here on 9/11 many years ago. And we'll never forget that, for all the people that lost their lives. And then, but yet we stand. So thank you so much. And we pray for everyone, that lost someone during 9/11. We all were affected, but there were so many lives lost. But there's that faith and that hope, and we got through it. So thank you so much for reminding us of that. We're just so excited on tonight, and we're grateful just to have everyone here. Thank you so much for being here, for supporting Julie and her empowerment It's just a blessing because she's put so much into this, and she's done so much, and then we're praying for her and her daughter that God just brings her through, and that she has complete healing. So, and we know that Julie would be here if she could. I know she's somewhere probably listening when she shouldn't be, when she should be tending to other things. So, but we're just praying for her. We love her. We support her. And I know she just thanks you guys for being here and supporting her in every way. We're just really excited on tonight for our special, I wouldn't even call him a guest because he's just a part of empowerment. And he's here every single week. He just supports. He loves on passive. He loves everyone. And he just gives his heart to us every time that he's asked. Dr. John pours his heart out, and he gives us so much information. He educates us, and he enlightens us on sometimes things that we don't even think about, things that we maybe we heard it before, we forgot, and we just kind of need to know these things because it's so important as we're going through life. So we think we're just blessed on tonight for I'm Passive, for Ash for bringing this to us, and for allowing us to be a part of it, and for how he works tirelessly. And we're just grateful on tonight for so many things. But I'm just excited on tonight to hear our brother, Dr. John, and he's going to talk a deeper dive into life insurance. And so, but these are things that we need to know in life. So sometimes we have questions and things that we thought we knew but wasn't true. And there's this mystical things about life insurance, and people are afraid of different things about life insurance, but yet Dr. John comes and he makes it so plain, and he opens it up so that we can understand it. And he gives us information that we need to know so that we can use it down the line. So Dr. John is he's a staple here in I'm Passive. He's respected. He's loved by everyone. He is an educator. He is a finance person. He just does so much, and we appreciate him. And tonight, let's welcome our own Dr. John Agwe for being here on tonight, for educating us. He's laughing because I just messed up his name, but but that's okay. We love you, Dr. John, and we thank you so much for being here.
Ajongwen,
No,
Ajongwen.
Listen, Queen Debbie. I think I have been envying Queen Lerato for getting free lunches from people. And it's about time I start getting my own free lunches for any letter of my name that is said wrongly. So
you got a lot of free lunches today.
that's all I'm going to say to her. Thank you, Queen Joyce, and really, Queen Debbie. That mindset that you just brought up is so powerful. And as we started and opened up with a prayer for our sister and the daughter who are in hospital, when you were talking about having that patience to go through obstacles, having that faith and having that hope that things are going to turn out right, I was just sitting here thinking, wow, how appropriate. And I just want to thank you for that. So a good evening, everybody, and welcome to this session of Julie Pierre Empowering Humanity. Last week, we had a presentation, and that presentation specifically was not on life insurance. And somehow, towards the end of the presentation, the questions that came up were specifically about life insurance. And then after the presentation, our Queen Julie sort of asked me, so like, Dr. John, I still sense you've talked about some of these things a couple of times, and there seem to be still a bit of confusion. Will you mind sort of just peeling the onion a bit? And I'm like, are you kidding me? And she's like, yeah, we agreed that maybe I can talk about a few things, show a few more examples, and then that way it may help people to get a clearer understanding of what it is. And what I'm going to say is, I mean, most of this information, as you know, is educational in nature, but my hope is that at least for the 19 of us who are here, or more importantly, again, if I look at the people who are in the US, I would not be blasé to say that some of the information that I'm sharing with you or I will share with you would put you among the top 95% of people within the United States when it comes to the concepts, or even among the top 60% of the agents that actually go around marketing these products to people, because there is a lot of information out there. And when I started pulling the deck together, it started getting long, and I had to go back and chop out a lot of information so that you guys don't come out with information overload. So I'm going to still try and keep it at a higher level. I'm going to actually, maybe for the first time, go into some software simulations and show you examples of what it really means when people talk about some of those things. And that's why I'm saying it's gonna hopefully enlighten you a bit. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen if you care, and then let's journey together. And what I'm gonna do is share my screen. I got like 4 of them open here. I just want to make sure I'm sharing the right one. Okay. So I said it's life insurance for life and beyond. And I toyed around with that title because hopefully it starts by dispelling one of the myths that people either have or that people are concerned when we talk about life insurance in general. And let me just start back by looking at when we talk about insurance, what is it that what really conjures the idea of insurance to us? You know, when you talk about insurance, it's really talking about how you want to protect yourself against some sort of a financial loss. So think about your home, think about your car, think about your cell phone, think about even, you know, extended warranties that you buy for stuff that we get. The purpose that we normally get them is you're looking at it like, what is the risk that I face if that peril happens, if my home burns down or my car crashes? Would there be something that would provide me some sort of guarantee when those happen? And so when it comes to the type of things that we insure, you can see there's really a big laundry list, from homes to cars, as I said, to even pets. You know, when we're going on vacation, we insure our travel. You insure your luggage. Maybe you insure your jewelry. And the reason, as I said, we do all of this is just to sort of do a risk management effort to say, if there is some sort of a damage, I want to be able to mitigate that loss. But the irony is that while we can go to a shop to buy things and the storekeepers or the people selling those things can easily sell us items, when it comes to ourselves, and I call us the family ATM. Think about it this way. Whether you have kids or you have people that depend on you, they never really think where the money is coming from. They know you're the source of the money. And if you think about us, and Queen Debbie talked about actually gathering that courage to go back onto driving, and that she, thank God, survived an accident. Most of us are ATMs that are literally riding on 4 wheels. Every day we get out of our house and go to work. But if you actually had a big cash machine that generates tens of thousands of dollars a week or a month and has been generating that for the family or for yourself, I will bet that you try to keep that very safe. But when we think about ourselves, we don't actually look at it in terms of that family ATM. And so it's very okay for somebody to go out there and say, yeah, I think I have to do the car insurance and I have to even carry some umbrella insurance, but we forget about us. And to really, I came across this letter at one of our trainings, and it was really quite impactful. And I'm gonna just put it up and we read it together. And it says, a letter from your traditional life insurance policy. And I use the word traditional because there are different types that we'll talk about. And it says, hello, I am your life insurance policy. You and I have similar purposes in this world. It is your job to provide food, clothing, shelter, schooling, medicine, and other things for the ones you love. You do this while I am kept in a safe place. I have faith and trust in you. Out of your earnings will come the cost of my upkeep. At times, it may appear insignificant to you, but someday, and who knows when, you and I will change places. When you are laid to rest, I will come alive and do your job. I may provide food, clothing, shelter, schooling, medicine, and other things for your family, and continue that your family will continue to need, just as you're providing now. When your work and labor are done, mine will begin. Through me, your hands can carry on. Wherever you feel the price you're paying for my upkeep is burdensome, remember that I can do more for you and your family than you will ever do for me. Knowing how a policy like me works will help you understand my role in your overall financial foundation. Together, we can help protect the future of your family. If you do your part, I will do mine. Sincerely, your life insurance policy. So when I saw this, I thought, this is really like whoever crafted this, to me, it was simply brilliant. And the irony is that just like everything that is either not fully understood or not really talked about a lot, there are also a lot of misconceptions, there are a lot of myths, and really a general lack of understanding. Plus, the options are so many that it becomes scary, it becomes overwhelming. Plus, those of us who actually go out there to share this knowledge to people or sell to people, we probably could use tactics that would tend to create pressure, they'll tend to scare people. And because some of the people that actually sell these products, they themselves probably do not really understand the power of what they're selling. They sort of leave people with a bad taste in their mouths. And as we all know, bad news travels very fast, right? And when people get the good piece, it's rarely actually shared. People may just share a bit of it to some members of their families if they love them. But if they hear something bad, chances are that that stuff would be shared almost instantly. So the question is, whenever somebody talks about it, the gray matter starts to work, and it's like, what am I getting? What the hell? What are the benefits? Why? What? Da, 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 da. And a lot of these questions tend not to be answered, and a lot of them, people sort of just keep their fingers crossed, or a lot of them, people just say, you know what, I'll put it up for a while. Last week, I actually had a chat with a couple, 36 and 38-year-old. And the 38-year-old was very confident in telling me that they're still very young and healthy, and they don't want to be thinking about this right now. Right? But the question is, even if you choose to do it, how much do I need? If I come to talk to you as an agent, chances are that I want to get you to get the largest amount so that I can get a decent commission. But in reality, there is a formula, and even the Social Security here in the United States has a formula that you can actually calculate how much life insurance that you need to protect your family. And there are ways that, I mean, the Social Security method is very elaborate. In the main, it says there that if you're not there and you were the main breadwinner, chances are that 70% or about 30% of that income which you're bringing and using for yourself is no longer required, but you need about 65 to 70 for all the other things that your income was providing. And they use some mathematics to calculate to say how much lump sum, if John were to drop dead today, how much lump sum would be needed to set aside so that it can then over time generate some sort of income to the family to cover those that income that he was bringing in. And the financial institutions took this and then looked at a very simple rule of thumb to say, okay, how can we sort of help people to be able to estimate what their insurance need is? And it's called what we typically within the company I'm working with, they call it the DIME method. DIME, D-I-M-E. D stands for debt. So you just list your debt that you are owing out there, whether car loans and credit card loans, just put that number. The income that you need to replace, instead of using that complicated Social Security method, they just say 10 times your annual income. Just put that down. If you have kids that you're going to put through education, you just said, okay, how much am I going to pay for 4-year college, for example? You put that number. And then I know I skipped the M for mortgage. If you have a mortgage and that mortgage has a balance on it, just put that balance. But if you don't have a mortgage and you're renting, there's a formula which says how much are your annual rents, divide that by say 4%, and that will give you a lump sum which if that lump sum was invested, it will be generating income that will help to actually provide some sort of coverage to your family. And when you add up those numbers, in most cases, you see that the income and the mortgage are the two big ones, followed by education, and then debt comes to a smaller number. That will tell you the big amount of insurance that you need. And then the question is, how much do you currently have? Whether it's at your job or something that you bought from your credit union, you subtract that, and then this gives you what they call your insurable need. That is what ideally you would want if you want to actually, have that what I call SWAN, sleep well at night type mindset. And then you know that at least if I'm not here tomorrow, my family is covered. So let's just look at some very basic statistics when we talk about life insurance. In the US, about 84% of people actually buy life insurance primarily for burial or final expenses. 66%, that's almost 7 out of 10 people. They are getting the life insurance for wealth transfer. And for those of us here in Unpassive, this is something that we need to actually be thinking about. And I'll show you the example later on. And then 6 out of 10 or 62% of the people are looking at it as income replacement. So the words are a bit different because the income replacement, it's saying what I was talking about, us being like the family ATM. I'm not here. My family is exposed. I want to be able to continue providing for them. And 57%, almost 6 out of 10, are looking at using life insurance to supplement their retirement. But I thought life insurance was meant for when I'm gone. No, about almost 6 out of 10 people are getting it as a source of incomes, of a retirement income supplement. And about half of the people are just looking to pay off debts, especially pay off a mortgage or pay off estate taxes. And then when you look at in the US, and this number is probably worse in other countries, about 56% of Americans have life insurance. And out of those 56%, a big majority actually have that life insurance through their work. So if you subtract those two numbers, you will be left with just about a quarter of the people that have life insurance actually get it directly for themselves without going through their jobs. And we'll touch on that a bit. The biggest area that other people actually want to get insurance, as I said, in terms of income replacement, comes from this survey here, which shows there that when this survey was made of families and saying what percentage of families will actually feel a financial impact within 1 year or less of the main breadwinner passing away. 15% of the people basically started feeling the impact within 1 week. And when I saw this initially, I'm like, wow, that is high. But the truth is that whenever somebody passes away, instantly their bank accounts get frozen. And those bank accounts are frozen because they want to make sure that if there were like some probate stuff or alimonies that needed to be paid and all that stuff, they are taken care of. So you can understand why if the main breadwinner passes away and it's somebody that is either bi-weekly or so, that income would literally stop until when they go through all those probate or get the death certificate and start figuring out who is the next of kin. And within 1 month, if you look at it, literally you're talking of 20% of people. So if you add the 20 and the 15, 35% of the people actually start feeling the impact within a month. And then as you shift up, it's only a small number that will say, oh, maybe you will hang on for about a year or so. So that said, from a statistics point of view, a lot of people get life insurance, whether through their jobs or independently, because they want to be able to go fund themselves rather than have to rely on a GoFundMe. And that is something that people need to be aware. But then let's peel the onion back a bit and really look at some of the reasons why people actually go out there to get life insurance. And I color-coded them just to make them a bit clearer. So the first thing is that if you look at the first, say, 3 here or 4, you talk about the final expenses, which we saw was a majority. We talk about paying off debts. We talked about the income replacement and the thinking of those that have children. Again, they're trying to just cover for that. And then you come down to the next generation or the next area after they've covered those basic needs is looking at how can I leave some inheritance? How can I create multi-generational wealth? And that's when the people start thinking about how to really use the vehicle more than just the death benefit itself. And I had an example where I was talking with a retired individual. The spouse really didn't work. This guy had about $800,000 in his retirement account. He wanted a way to be able to use as much of that money for retirement. But his idea was that if something were to happen to him, he wanted to at least manage the money so that the spouse would be left with at least $500,000 of that money. And if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense because if he stayed long enough, he would probably blow everything. But after going back and forth, what we were able to do was, because he was insurable, we were able to actually get a $500,000 life insurance policy for him, which would probably cost him anything up to $200,000 if he was to pay it over a long time. And that, in that way, we said, now you have between $100,000 to $200,000 that you're using to create generational wealth of $500,000 for your spouse, and you have $600,000 now that you can actually use for your retirement. So that did help him to be able to manage his retirement funds in a better way. And then this next ones here are primarily, I need it for me now, not necessarily when I'm gone. So I need it to provide me with cash. I need it to provide me with funds if I'm ill. I need it to provide me with funds to pay my taxes. And I need it to provide me with some sort of funds to supplement whatever money I'm getting from for my retirement. So that is when the title I had put there, that is life insurance for life and beyond. This states here, they're thinking about life when I'm still alive. And then the blue ones down here, again, those of us who are in business with on passive, you start realizing that a lot of businesses, this is probably where businesses make a lot of investment in life insurance policies by dealing with business continuity as well as retaining high-level employees. If you've heard about things like golden parachutes, like the executive bonuses, when you see, let's say me and Queen Joyce, we had a consulting business which was 50% owned by each of us, and it's worth, say, $1 million. Now, something happens to me, my family come and say, okay, just give us his share. We don't want to do any business with you. We never liked you. You know, the two of you were happy. We want out. Most businesses never ever have like half of that money just sitting somewhere, and they'll probably not be able to get loans to pay off the other part. So instead of just liquidating the company because one partner passed away, these guys do things like the buy and sell type of life insurance policy. So I will take a life insurance on Queen Joyce, and she will take a life insurance policy on me. When my family come and start talking, she just claims the life insurance, pay them off, the business stays with her. That's a business continuity strategy. Or if she was my top employee that is bringing in almost all the business, and that's why you see when CEOs leave companies, you see the stock of those companies go down. What happens is that some of these companies, they put like some big key man or executive bonuses on those individuals to really keep them in that company, because those individuals bring value. And if something were to happen to them, the cost of replacing them will be too much. And so life insurance starts to play a lot of role in that particular part. And expanding on the living benefits, I just put this statistic, I think I've shared it, that literally, if you look at what is the probability that somebody may need help, this again is US numbers, but right now, if you think about it, things like taking care of the elderly is not necessarily for people who are like old and in the nursing homes, but if you look at the chance that somebody who is below 60 or 65 may need some sort of health insurance, or not health insurance, like a life insurance, in terms of long-term care or chronic illness, it's actually it's creeping close to 60% now. And why? If you think about, there's this the risk age of maybe 45 to 55 or 50 to 60. When you talk about executive burnout and people are trying to make it to the top, doing 2 or 3 jobs, driving back and forth, people crash. And when people crash, sometimes our good companies will sustain us for about 5 months and 6 months, and then you're left on your own. And when you go past the age of 65, then there is almost a 60% chance that we would need some sort of critical, chronic, terminal, or even other type of healthcare that is not covered by our normal systems of healthcare. So, throwing all of this together, it may not surprise you to know that some of the biggest buyers of life insurance are actually the companies we work for. So it goes to the executive bonuses, it goes to the key man policies, and sometimes even some of the employee life insurance policies that they take. That's why they buy them. And the banks are probably some of the even much bigger buyers of life insurance. And they put what they call their tier 1 capital in a life insurance. And you may ask yourself, do companies and banks die? No, they don't. But these tools are there and the vehicles are there. They can work their way through and use them to actually make sure that the business can stay financially strong. And then when we look at historically, some people that have actually benefited from using their life insurance, you see some names up here that may be familiar to you. In 1929, I think those of you who are in the Chicago area probably know about J.C. Penney. When there was the big fire and J.C. Penney basically had to rebuild, he had to pull like $3 million from his life insurance policy to get the company restarted. Walt Disney, when he had his Mickey Mouse and nobody was willing to actually fund for somebody to make a cartoon movie, the banks were laughing at him. He actually partially funded the start of Walt Disney from life insurance. And then you get people like Ray Kroc and you get people like Jane Stanford who really donated a big endowment that helped start Stanford University. And some of these people, they actually built, and this is where we start talking of creating generational wealth. Some of them, like J.C. Penney and Walt Disney, they used, and Ray Kroc, they used the money while they were alive. Others sort of passed it forward over to others. And in our day, who in the US are some of the biggest buyers of life insurance policies? Yes, they starts from the congressmen, and that's why for if you look at the way that they have structured it in the US, yes, they actually make it in a way that they can actually own it for themselves and use it for themselves. The likes of Oprah Winfrey's and the Jay Leno's, those are big time owners of multi-billion life insurance policies. Somebody like Elon Musk, when he sold PayPal over to eBay, he got himself a life insurance policy for $201 million. And you say, why the hell? But it is because of the benefits that they have. So for me and you who are on the outside looking, we are stuck with these myths that we think when we hear about life insurance. And I'll just go through like the top 9 in a reverse order. Yes, it's better for me to save my money than to have it in a life insurance policy. That's what a lot of people think. Number 8, if my children are grown up, I don't need life insurance. Well, if you think about some of the things I just mentioned in terms of estate taxes and start thinking in terms of wealth, multi-generational wealth transfer, just think about some of the things we've mentioned in the past about trusts. Then you start see you can't get life insurance if you have serious health conditions. Generally true, but in most cases, people, it's something to check before you just think that maybe because you had some condition, you're automatically denied. Sometimes they may actually rate your policy, which means it costs you more than it will cost somebody who's healthier. And the cases that there's just complete denial may be actually lower than most of us think. And the next one, if any of you have a policy, please, please, please hear this number 6 myth. Once you buy it, just keep it somewhere and never think about it again. No, no, an absolute no, because we've known people that had it and it expired. They never knew it expired. Some had it and it needed some sort of regular updates and they never ever looked at it. And I actually met a family who said they know of people that buy their life insurance, they hide it away from their families because guess what? They're worried that somebody will kill them for that life insurance. And then they end up dying and nobody knows that that life insurance ever existed. And if nobody ever claims that policy, after a long time, the money goes to the state. So just be aware. Only the primary income earner needs life insurance? No, because if somebody ends up having like a critical chronic condition, the money that primary income earner was bringing in may not be enough to cover them. And then you come to number 4, if you're single, no, you don't need one. Again, why? Because people think, oh, I'm buying it for someone, so I don't have anybody that's my dependent. That's not strictly true. You can get one for the living benefits for yourself. Life insurance is expensive, and the question is compared to what? And unless you actually look at the details and see how much it actually costs, then you would realize that maybe it's not as expensive as you think. This one, I don't know how I can actually tell people, and I myself, I never knew about. I thought that this was a great thing for me, that I had a life insurance of almost $1 million in my previous job in corporate America. I was happy until the day I left, and then I realized it didn't exist anymore. So don't think that it's sufficient, and just remember it is there while you're working for the company. And then it tells you that people who are in their 20s are too young. As we see in one of the examples, the typical earliest age that you can get life insurance, like in the United States with some of the real reputable companies, is 2 weeks old. So typically between 2 weeks old and 80 years, some companies maybe 85, is the insurable age. So and I'll share you an example where the first person that ran this illustration for me was a Jewish lady, and they used that to create what they call the $1 million babies. I think I have an example here I'll share with you. So while life insurance really is meant primarily to protect us and provide and protect our assets and help in transferring wealth through the death benefit, it is actually very useful for also providing you with some living benefits. And the way that I can explain this is through a concept they call the X curve. And it just talks about, the black line talks about our responsibilities, and the red line talks about the wealth. And if you look at it, when people are younger, relatively young, we broke, we don't have money, we actively working, living like paycheck to paycheck, but then our responsibilities are typically high, whether it's food, shelter, clothing, kids, student loans, car loans, those are high. And hopefully, with time, we pay off those, and with time, our income increases. So in the younger period of time when we have responsibilities, you see there is really typically no need trying to sell somebody the idea that as somebody who is has people that depend on them, it is a good idea to have some sort of insurance to protect the income should the worst happen to you. However, if you look to the right side, when the person's responsibilities have reduced, hopefully the person is financially more secure, then what you start seeing is that yes, there's still some of the responsibilities of, providing for your basic needs, but there is also this issue of living long, health issues, plus taxes that come to play. And what typically happens is that in the world of financial planning, people spend time with the planning during the first part of the equation. And then in the later part, they carry this big pile of money and drop it over the fence to the person that's going to do the financial planning. If that word, we can remember it, you are planning. So you should not be doing a financial planning at the end when you're already using it. You always plan early so you can build. So if you're not just gonna start putting a plan of your house when the house is up, that doesn't work. So that planning for the later part of your life needs to happen earlier. And this is what really brings us to the ideas that I want to just spend some time and talk to you about. And I think I've shared this before, but maybe worth repeating, what I call, the fundamentals or the anatomy of an insurance policy. Because once you understand them, then you can actually go out there and get any type of insurance that you want to meet your needs. And please don't ever go out and let somebody say, I'm doing a life insurance, say, oh, how much life insurance costs and what value of life insurance can I get from you? If you ask me that question, I say, I don't know, because what are you using it for? Until you actually talk to somebody and you go through what we call a financial needs analysis to understand the person's short, medium, and long-term needs, use that DIME method to see what they have and see the gap, you are doing them an absolute disservice in just selling them something. You might as well throw it away in the garbage can, because you're buying something that has no value to you. Now, just to start, if you, depending on where you are from, when you go to buy your gasoline for your car, you always buy it either in liters or in gallons or in something. You want to buy produce from the market, is probably in kilograms or pounds. If you want to buy anything that you want to buy, like grocery, they typically have some units of weight or volume or measurement. When it comes to life insurance purchase, the way that they cost and sell it is no different from you buying gasoline from a gas station, where they would be charging you per gallon for if you're in the US, or liters in some other parts of the world. So in the United States, the unit that they cost life insurance is $1,000 worth of life insurance coverage is considered as 1 unit of life insurance. It is important because when we look at the cost table, you will see that they actually specify it that way. So if I went out now and I said, I want to get myself a life insurance of $100,000, what the insurance company is going to do is that they're going to find out how much is the cost of 100 units of life insurance to a male age X. So that's the way they cost it. It's important to understand, and when we look at the cost table, you will understand it a bit better. Now, this one is very, very simple to understand. The cost of insurance increases with age. In addition to increasing with age, there are also other elements that at any particular point in time affect what that cost of insurance is. So whenever somebody sits down to do an insurance plan or policy for you, and they start asking you some of these questions, it is not because they're trying to find out if your weight is good enough or whatever, but it is actually important. In fact, one other factor that is missing here, typically it's a height also. So they look at what's the age of the person, what's the weight of the person, are there any health issues past and present, are you on any medication, do you use tobacco or not, what's your family health history? And guess what? Yes, your driving record does come into play because they want to see, the whole idea is they are doing a risk underwriting and they want to make sure that you are not going to be a risky candidate. And if you are, then they're going to price it accordingly. So typically for a given age, what would tend to happen is that when we look at that cost of insurance, let me just see whether I can pull up something here just for us to look at. May have to go to my desktop. Bear with me, we're gonna come back and okay, let me see, share this one. Okay, I'm gonna share this to you very soon so that it can actually show you some stuff that typically nobody tells us about. So sometimes you may actually get an insurance policy, and in some of the pages, they will give you a table like this one. And this table, we'll just look at it and say, you know what the heck? And we never read it. It doesn't really mean a lot to us. But this is basically where it's saying the cost of insurance increases with age. So if you look at this situation here, this is for somebody, they're saying that starting from age 18, so you can find out whatever age you are, and depending on the risk class that the person has been assessed on those factors I just showed on the previous screen. And then for a female and a male, you can see why I tell you that. I think that's one of the comments I'm going to show, that we've mentioned over and over that for the same age, let's pick 30 years, for example, if I can draw a straight line here, you find out that the cost for a male is higher than the cost for a female. And the cost here, they're telling you that what? This is the cost per $1,000. So this is the cost per unit. And you realize that the insurance company gives you the table. So you know how much that life insurance policy that you got is going to cost you when you get to a certain age. So if somebody took $100,000 of life insurance policy, which means 100 units, then 1 unit of life insurance would cost like 0.11 unit $0.11 at the age of 18, which means it costs $11.3. But when that same individual gets to the age of 90 and they're still buying the same 100 units of life insurance, it's gonna cost them $1,836. So it doesn't matter whether you're doing a term policy, a whole life policy, whatever. Once the insurance company has actually assessed and rated you as a particular risk category, then your insurance premium cost will be going up every year based on that. And if you even come, they'll show you now, I did mention here that when we talk about some of the minors or juveniles, you see that, yeah, they also give you equivalent costs for juveniles. So if you look at this table here, you see that age 0, yes, they'll sell an insurance policy to a child that I say is 2 weeks old. But one thing that you notice here is that they realize that during the first 2 or 3 years of a child's life, you know, things can happen to them. They're not really, even though they are alive, their life is still bouncing up and down. So childhood mortality and all that stuff could happen. So you see that some of these numbers for the first couple of years, it looked kind of wacky, but from age 4, you can actually see that there's a nice progression. And by the time that they get to that age of 18, you start seeing there that those numbers start becoming comparable to what we saw in the other page there. So whether it's a 1-year-old or a 50-year-old, the insurance companies typically will actually give you the age, the cost of insurance all the way up to age 121 for permanent policies, most of them. Except that if you go and you buy a whole life policy, they are not obliged to provide you with this information. Other times, like universal life policies, they will typically provide you with this piece of information. I just thought I should bring this chart for you to understand when we say cost of insurance goes up by age. If somebody goes in and buys $1 million of life insurance, $1 million of life insurance at the age 80, that's 1,000 units, at age 40, it's 0.143 times 1,000, which is $143 a year for cost of the policy. But that same person, if they go and they are age 70, 70 here is giving us now 2.245, which means $2,245. Why is that important? It is important because when you then go and you're designing a policy for somebody and you know that those costs are going to be increasing with time, you can design the policy based on the needs of the individual. If the individual does not need a lot of life insurance later in life, you can design the policy to reduce this cost of insurance. If the person still wants to maintain a large amount of insurance, then you take that into account accordingly. Okay, that's enough for that particular page. And let me go back to our presentation and share that one. The other thing that you want to know, you guys have already seen it, everything being equal, the women, it costs less. So because of the risks that are associated, or the mortality tables tell us that men are are riskier. And then this is something that is kind of difficult to understand, but when we run the example, you're gonna get it. You cannot prepay for your insurance. It sounds kind of crazy if you've had a policy that people say, oh, I paid, it's paid up. You don't really pay up. You just gave the insurance company money and they kept it, and they were using the money to pay for that cost when it was due. So just keep that at the back of your minds and we'll look at it. And then the only math that you need to learn and understand here is that what you pay to the life insurance company at any point is not the cost of insurance. You pay a premium. And that premium, some of that money goes towards the cost of insurance and other administrative costs, and the balance goes towards a cash value. Again, it doesn't matter which type of policy it is, term, whole life, permanent life. Generally, the formula applies. The question is who has the cash and who has the cash and how does that cash grow is the difference between the policies. And then the last thing to understand is that in almost every country, when people have a life insurance policy, and that life insurance policy would typically be paid income tax free, except the way that you structure it so that it's not owned accordingly, it could be taxable. And we may talk about that. But I did talk about this idea of the cost of insurance and that the premium you pay goes towards the cash. Let me just illustrate that here. if you think about it, we agree that this curve that is going up here is the cost of insurance. It's increasing with time. If you went out there now and you bought a life insurance policy, and they say, let's say you got a $100,000 30-year term policy, what they will typically do is that they'll come back and say, okay, Queen Debbie, your $100,000 policy is going to cost you maybe $50 a month. And you sit there and you pay $50 every month and pay $50 every month and pay $50 until your 30 years go by. What typically happens is that in say day one, you're paying $50 up here, but the cost of insurance might be something like maybe $10. Now there is $40 that is remaining. And over time, your cost of insurance is increasing and you're only paying the $50. At some point in time, maybe halfway past that policy, the cost of insurance actually is more than that your $50 that you're paying. Now, what is happening in the background is that the cash that was in there now, some of it is being transferred to pay this delta that you are not paying from your premium. And then your 30 years or whatever period passes, and you tell the insurance company, I want another policy. And they tell you, great, we're going to design you another policy, but now you're going to be paying something like $300. And you say, hey, no. So this is one of the things that if people understand it, then they can actually get a different type of policy and fund it differently. Let me again quickly go here and actually show you. What am I going to show here? Let me see if I can get to my desktop. Some real life examples of a policy that was, I hope you can see my screen here. So this was a 20-year policy that was sold to a 30-year-old male, a $1 million policy. And I just want to show you how they will tell the person that for the first 20 years, you're paying $51 a month. And that $51 a month comes out to be about $614. And you can see that every year they pay that $614. And then on year 21 here, if that person keeps that policy, you can see the premium went up from $614 to $9,500 for that year. And the following year went up to $10,000, then $11,000, $12,000, $13,000. And the person will not even let it go that far because they'll come in here and say, hey, last year when I was 20 years old, I got that policy. And now you cannot tell me that my $614 policy now you're telling me to pay $9,000 this year. Forget it. I'm not going to do it. So somebody will go back and say, okay, you know what? That 20-year policy has lapsed. I didn't take it. I'm going to get another 20-year policy. And they run another 20-year policy, assuming that their health profile holds the same and that they haven't done a couple of PSA tests or smear tests or breast examinations and start saying some funny stuff. That person now, you can see that the $21 that they were paying or whatever they were paying now has jumped to $300 in the next year. So it was $614 a year. Now the term policy that this person is looking for becomes almost $4,000. Assuming that they actually hang on and another 20 years go by, and this time they are like 71 years old, they're still alive, and they thought, maybe I still need that $1 million life insurance. They go back, they will just be told, forget about it. For next year, you need to pay $62,000. You agree with me that nobody in their right senses is going to want to go put out that amount of money. And in most cases, they don't have the money anyway. So a lot of people who go for these term policies, they will get to a point that they say, I don't really need it. Maybe you start self-justifying because you think the kids are gone, you think the mortgage is paid off. But think about it. The person just wasted close to about $90,000 paying for $1 million policy that they never used. But that is still great because if something had happened along the way, the $90,000 or $50,000 compared to $1 million policy would have been worth it. So for term policies, you are hedging a bet that I drop dead before it expires. The insurance company is keeping their fingers crossed that you're going to take care of yourself and you're going to live past the period of time that you put the policy. So because of that, about 98% of term policies expire without being claimed. And that's why the insurance companies are able to offer it relatively cheap because in reality, they don't really pay out a lot on that. Now, coming back to where we were on our deck, there is the other option where if you understand it, you can actually pay your policy in some sort of a flexible manner. And that flexible manner says that the cost of insurance is still increasing. You cannot change that. But this individual can actually put in different amounts into that policy over and above whatever they're putting. And you can see that during the earlier years, the cash actually grew up into this blue part a lot more. And then maybe later on in the year, they were not paying in as much. They took some of that money and paid for the excess cost of insurance, and they were left with more money. Or if that person's idea was that they wanted to go and create a lot of cash in that policy, they could literally drop the life insurance component and just use that vehicle almost as a funding vehicle. And in this case, you really need to sit down with somebody and look at it carefully and say, is this what I need? What is it that I want this thing to achieve for me? And work on that, because if you don't do it that way, what we're going to go and do is just run around and say, sell me a life insurance policy, which will not help you. So you will understand basically that what I mentioned, that there are primarily two types of life insurance. The term, which is for a period of time, typically 10 years, 15, 20, up to 30 years. And then you have to get another term like I shared with you. Or if you are working in a company, you typically have what they call annual renewable term, which means it covers you just for that 1 year. That's why the one that they give you guys at your work, when you leave, is gone because that year is passed. And then you got the permanent ones, which if you are insurable and you get it and you keep it active, then you can guarantee that the insurance company will pay one day, because at some point in time, we're going to expire. When you look at how has life insurance, especially in the US, and I'll say in the UK, evolved, the term policies were like the very first ones that were there. You go out there, you take some sort of protection in the event that something happens, or you buy a house and you put a mortgage insurance, not a mortgage insurance, but put an insurance in the event that you're not able to pay for that house, or something happens to you, then your family can use that life insurance to pay that mortgage off. Then over time, the companies came out with whole life, and whole life insurance has been around for right the 18th centuries, but has been more popular since the 50s. It's extremely good in the sense that once you get a whole life policy, you know how much your premiums are going to be. You know how much the cash value will be at any point in time. You know how much the death benefit is going to be at any point in time. And literally, you have all these guarantees that they tell you, and you can say, okay, if I keep paying, then I know that by the age 80, I definitely have this amount of money. The issue with those policies is that most of them, if you think about it, the company is providing you with the guarantees. The guarantees come at a cost, and they are not obliged to provide you with a lot of details as to how they structure the cost structure of that policy is. In the 80s and 70s and 80s, different types of policies came into play, like the universal life family of products. So there was the straight universal life, the variable universal life, and index universal life. These policies, literally, if you think about it, the only difference between them, or the main difference between them, is how the cash value grows. So if you go and look at the term policy, we just establish the cash value belongs to the insurance company. They will use it to pay the excess. All of these other ones, the cash value belongs to you. And that money, if you're not funding it properly, they will take that cash value and keep paying the life insurance until you run out of cash. One other special type of policy that I'm going to talk about very briefly when we go through and talk about the advantages and disadvantages is the final expense insurance, which is primarily a burial expense that you want to actually set up for yourself so that your family doesn't have to start going through financial stress at the most emotional time in their lives. So let's just quickly go through the different policies. Term life insurance is very popular, it's very cheap. Why? I did say that typically they don't really pay out like 98% of the times. It's temporary, and most of the time they will only pay when you're dead. You cannot go and borrow some cash from your term policy because there's no cash. And I highlighted this one because if you still have most of the term policies, if you still have a pulse, there is nothing that they can do except in the US at the moment, I believe that every state should have terminal illness in a policy so that if somebody is sort of identified as having less than 12 months to live, you can actually have access to up to 90% and in some cases 100% of your life insurance to take care of you either in hospice or whatever. And as we saw in the illustrations, if it lapses, then all the money you've put in is gone. And in some cases, or in all cases, when it lapses and you want to do it again, the premiums will go up, as I just showed in the example. The other sub element of it is the one that is at your work. And I said, the big thing is that if you're laid off, you retire, you quit the company, that's the end of it. And the payout probability is even lower than the payout probability for a normal term policy, because how many times do you remember employees of your company dying? So whole life, great. It has these triple guarantees and you can actually borrow money from there. So the people like the JC Penney's and the Ray Krocs and even Walt Disney, they borrow the money from their whole life policies. But these policies, because of the guarantees, they come at a high cost and they are not allowed to, they don't necessarily have to disclose their cost structure to you. Most of them do not come with a lot of living benefits, and we'll talk about the living benefits briefly. You can take a loan, but if you don't repay that loan back, it could actually affect the policy. And the last thing, which may not be an issue, is that when you go past, say, 100 years, and you have put in less in that policy, and it endows, you could be taxed. But many people don't go past that number, so it's not an issue. Final expense, as I said, it's great for peace of mind. They guarantee the death benefit, and it is generally very simplified underwriting. I would say people who would otherwise not have normal life insurance can easily get their final expense insurance, because in some cases, as long as you don't have some critical illnesses like cancers, you may actually get it. And these policies typically go up to about $40,000-$50,000, depending on the age that you get it. And some of them, you may be able to borrow money from it, but the purpose you take it is not for that. You're taking maybe a $20,000 final expense for your funeral. And if he has $5,000 or $2,000 of cash in it, you don't want to be pulling that, because now you're left with $18,000. And then the universal life policies, those ones are the ones that come in with all the bells and whistles, but these are also the ones that people really design them very poorly, and sometimes people misuse them, and therefore you need to actually make sure that you are working with somebody who understands how to do them. But the good news is that depending on the size of the policy, you may not have any restrictions on how much you put in. And when you're accumulating the funds in there, you really have another layer of protection from lawsuits, from market losses, and in some cases, the cash there may not even be considered when you're applying for your kids' education. And then when you want to get money out of it, it also has quite a few advantages, including the fact that you will not pay tax on the growth of that money. And then after you're gone, obviously, that money can transfer to your beneficiaries tax-free. The only thing to remember is not everyone necessarily qualifies. It needs to be properly designed and funded. And if you abuse the cash value in there, it can actually become a taxable event. The last type of insurance I want to just touch on, and then we jump into some examples to just show you, is a long-term care. There are two types of long-term care insurance. Again, it's a life insurance for you while you're alive. And in most cases, there are companies out there that will sell a long-term care. Say somebody has $200,000 as an example, and they're saying, I'm saving this, to take care of myself in my old age and all that good stuff. Some of these companies would allow you to actually get a policy, which you put your $200,000 in, and they would actually allow you to be able to take about $365,000 of what they call accelerated death benefit. And depending on how you structure it, you can actually have up to another 4 or 5 extra years of long-term care. So in this example that I illustrated to a 55-year-old who had $200,000, they literally converted said, if I have the $200,000 and I was able to use 365 during the first 2 years, and then I needed long-term care for another 4 years, that person could end up using almost $1 million worth of long-term care at a rate of $15,000 a month for the 6-year period. And when the person passes away, there would still be a death benefit of about $73,000 for them. This needs some underwriting, so it's not like the final expenses. And the question that a lot of people ask is, okay, I've just put my $200,000 in there, and it's disappeared, and I never ever need the long-term care. What happens? Old type of long-term cares used to be use it or lose it type, but they have these newer policies where if you never ever use the long-term care, then your beneficiaries would actually get a death benefit which is equivalent to this initial amount that you are guaranteed here. So you are guaranteed at least 1.5x what you put in, whether you use it or you don't. And then if you stay longer, you can spend that excess. And somebody may say, what if this person needs it for an extra 5, 6, or 7 years? Unfortunately, the companies would only pay for a certain period of time. So what happens in those cases is that somebody who gets into this situation, they may be saving some of this money. So if I anticipate that I'm going to need 6 years of long-term care, which is kind of long because a lot of people typically need it at home for about 2-3 years, and then in some sort of home for about another 2-3 years, for a total of between 5 and 6 years now. So those are like some types of policies that are actually available now for people to use. And what we just need to know is, do these things actually work? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a couple of slides, and I'll go do an illustration for you of this is a real life, these are real life client statements. So this was a 36-year-old female who got a $250,000 life insurance policy. And that policy, basically, there are some numbers here that you could pay, and that's the flexible part. But you realize that for most of the first couple of years, this individual just paid 1992, 1992, 1992. And at some point in time, like after 7 years, the amount jumped that they were putting in jumped to almost $9,000. And you may ask yourself, what happened? So this individual, when this policy was put in effect, they told them that they could actually put in about $9,000 into that policy. But the person like, why the hell would I put $9,000 if I can actually put 1,995? Because again, they did not understand what they wanted. So let me just run through the slides and show you what happened. So you see there that the names have been blanked out for obvious reason. So this policy started in 2008, but by 2013, almost 5 years, this individual had put in about $5,000 in that policy. And when they started looking at their statement, they saw that the cost of the policy in a year was something like 925 plus 60, say $1,000 in that year. And they were already generating some interest of close to $700. So they sort of said, that's like a net of just $300 that is costing me. And then we moved on and they said, okay, the following year, they came in and then, oops, this person bumped up to 13,000. Why did they bump up to 13,000? This individual got into their policy and they saw that the interest that they got that year was like $4,000 on their money. The cost was still about $1,000 or thereby. So interest was at $4,000, cost was about $1,100. So they had almost $3,000 of interest on top of the money they put in. And you could see somebody was beginning to be a believer. And then the following year, after a certain period of time, the cost actually went down. So if you add this number, 300 plus 300, that's 600. So it's dropped from 1,100 to 600. And the interest rate went up to $5,000 for that year. And this lady wanted to put more money into the policy, but the insurance company said, no, you cannot put in more money because there's a limit that they can put in. But they actually had almost $50,000 in an account that they wanted to keep it as a savings account. And the year that they had like $5,000 of interest here, the money in their savings account made like about $420. And now they were like, how can I transfer all of that money in here? Unfortunately, the government saw that a lot of the rich people they knew how this thing was working and they were using it for this purpose. And you can see that going forward, this lady basically could not put in more than this 11,992. and she just kept putting in only that limit, and the cost now you're seeing 3,000, and I mean 3,000 in, 600 out. So when she actually saw how in some times, like some months, you can see like this is the interest that her money generated in 1 month, which basically covered the cost of her money for 1 year. She went in and said, I drummed in $10,000. So when people actually understand how some of these vehicles work, she, by this is, I mean, this slide deck, well, we haven't updated it, but when we actually ran this in 2020, she had about $95,000 in this account. And out of that 95,000, $85,000 is available for her to use as a loan, or she could actually withdraw the whole amount and use for herself, and nobody is going to actually ask her any questions. If she chooses, she can repay the money. If she never repaid the money, then the insurance company will just wait the day that that individual passes away and the family come waiving a life insurance policy. They're going to say, let's just settle. Then let's make sure that we settle each other and you take the net. So some of these vehicles, they are used primarily to generate wealth, which people can then go ahead and use for themselves to actually create cash that they can use either in their retirement, use to fund their kids' education, or whatever they want to do with it. And just before I end, I just want to share with you some examples just to make, this is really going back to some software and running examples to show you how something like this would actually work for somebody. So I started off with somebody who is 30 years old, and they wanted to get a $1 million policy, assuming that they have gone through the analysis and it showed that they needed $1 million. Then you see that it's telling them that, yeah, you can pay about $600 a month for a $1 million policy. I'll tell you that this person will be screaming and shouting and saying that's too much, but you'll see when somebody starts realizing how this can work, miraculously that money starts appearing. The one thing I just want to point out here is that whenever you sit down and somebody does the illustration, they're supposed to show you at least 3 different illustrations. They're going to show you guaranteed illustration, which says your policy is generating you no income, but the costs are the maximum possible that the insurance company is going to charge you. That's equivalent to saying that from the day you put your money in the market, every single year, year in, year out, the market is crashing, 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 crashing. You feel that that is almost unrealistic, but you're required to show that. And then they say, okay, what would be a typical return if that money was like in a checking or a savings account at around 3%? And then each of these companies is mandated by the state, because insurance, at least in the United States, is regulated by the states. Each of the states will specify the maximum percentage that a company can illustrate their performance based on how that company has been performing in that state. And in most cases, those numbers tend to be about the same across the many states. And they say they are non-guaranteed numbers because sometimes they'll do better, sometimes they do less. But when the company looks and say, the state looks and say, this particular company has been in this state now for the last 30 years, they have been averaging about 7%, then they'll tell you you cannot illustrate anything more than 6%, because they don't want some of us to come and start overselling the products. But what I just wanted to share with you is that somebody who puts that $6,600 a month will just be putting about $7,000 a year. And if you scroll up, and maybe let's say that this individual was putting this money from age 30 through age 65, they would have put in, over the course of that period, almost $250,000 in there. You say, whoa, that's a lot. But If something were to happen to them anywhere along the line, there is $1 million. If they got into some sort of illness and long-term care, they could use that $1 million for themselves. But this policy has accumulated about $600,000 of cash. So your 250 is about $600,000. If that individual stopped contributing and just left that policy there, let's say the person lived to age 85, you see it's still 253, that money would have gone to about $2 million. Okay, why do they want to leave it there and not use some of it? They may have other sources of income. And if that person passes away, now that 2 million is protected by a life insurance of like 2.1 million. But I could have changed it to actually allow that life insurance to be bigger if the person's aim was just to get big life insurance. At the same time, somebody who understands or wants to just use this more from a cash accumulation may say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go into this policy. I'm going to put in the maximum that the government may allow me to put into that policy very early and allow it to accumulate and then see what happens to that in terms of my cash. Now you see that this person's, instead of 6,000, they're putting in like $12,000 a year. And as they're putting that money, obviously they start having some cash that they can be taking out of that policy if they choose to. And if this individual chose to put in that same amount over the period of the 35 years, they would have put in close to $500,000 in that policy, but it would have grown to what? $1.2 million of cash in here. So again, what is that person looking for? They're looking for cash in this situation. And if they actually waited till that age 85 and that policy did not take any cash, now there is a death benefit of almost 4.2 million. Those of us in unpassive may take advantage of this type of vehicles when we create our trusts to be able to max fund this type of policies to create generational wealth for other people. Let's even take it further and say that this individual, because the government will actually restrict how much you can put in any of these policies, because when the rich people discovered it, they wanted to get a $1 million policy and put 10 million in there, and the government said, no, we don't want you to cheat Uncle Sam. And you see that this particular policy allowed this individual to be able to put $55,000 a year. And after a period of time, the government said, no, no, no. You are trying to cheat Uncle Sam. They're not going to allow you to just be putting in what you want. But they clamped it back. But they clamped it back, but not that excessively. So under the same scenario, assuming the person chose to continue paying to that 65 hours, just doing apple to apple, they would have put like $1.3 million in there, which as a cash value would have literally converted to $4 million. So when you have the money and you start thinking, how can I leverage it? I just want to show you that this is one of those vehicles. And finally, what if we had one of these unpassive grandchildren and they meet the criteria to be able to create like $1 million policy for them within 2 weeks of their birth, and then fund that policy. Just fund it. Just keep putting in, instead of getting your unpassive monies, you just dump them in that policy and say, okay, I'm going to put it in there. How much can the government allow me to put in? They say, oh, maybe you can put in 30,000. Remember, the older person at 55. But after a while, they clamped you down. But then when it internally adjusted, now you have about 20,000 that you can put in. And in this scenario, I just played a scenario whereby you paid just through the first 18 years of this kid's life. And if you paid for just 18 years of this kid's life, let's say the kid is heading to college, And then any money you have, you start putting towards, paying for some of the interest on student loans. Then let's say that the kid graduates from college and then they choose they're going to get married or something. At the age of 30, you just go into that policy. The policy would have built your 362,000 would have been like a $1 million in there now. You pull out $250,000 tax-free, pay off all the student loans, do some nice wedding for your child, and then you hand it over to them or you keep it in your trust and don't even contribute another penny in there and just keep it. Just leave it there, forget about it. And this kid continues to live, become a human being, a grown up, and maybe at some point, let's even say 85 years, since we're looking at 85 here. Now, you put in 362, you took out 250, so your net input is like $112, $112,000. And here, this is how much that if that person didn't use that money along the way and passed away, or you decided to start looking at that thing when they are like around that 85, that $100,000 is converted to about $23 million. Can you imagine if you actually had an estate and you thought about it and you see how the Rockefellers and all the other people use this type of vehicles to continue creating this, and your trust, whether it's a charitable trust or a family trust, had about 3 of this type of kids that you funded for less than $500,000 and ended up with about 75 million. That is how you can actually help to create generational wealth using some of these vehicles. Again, it is not just something that you jump in there and say, oh, what do I need to do to get this? You need to, first of all, start off by finding out what it is that you want to do. And then now that you understand some of the things that drive it, you can sit down with somebody and literally look at them. Whatever you design, make sure that it is based on your financial needs, is based on your goals, and then you monitor it with time and fund it appropriately. You can see that in the situation where the person was paying $600 in this top here, they may have been looking at it and saying, oh my God, that's $600 a month, that's a lot. Somebody is taking the same $1 million, they're paying $4,600. Why is it? Because it depends what they want that policy to do. When it comes again to some of us who are of age and we're still insurable, there are some other vehicles that would allow you to be able to get a policy that will not bill cash, but that will allow you to at least have that death benefit. And you can design that to help you to pay estate taxes, to help you to be able to transfer money to different generations. It's a very powerful tool. The wealthy use it, the business people use it. And what I am hoping is that knowing now that it's like a Swiss Army knife, when our gates reopen in unpassive and we start looking at what are some of the options, I will want you to actually know that this is a powerful tool that you should consider putting in your toolkit. I'm going to stop here. I think I've probably bored you to death or maybe confused you so badly that I don't think anybody is going to have a question. You'll just be too confused. But honestly, if any of you actually have a question, if you have things that you want us to look at it for your specific, you see I showed examples for different scenarios. Each person's situation is different. And if you look at some of the factors that I shared there, what medications you're taking, what's your weight, what's your height, I don't think any of us wants to start broadcasting that information to people on this platform. So, but if you want to actually see how one of these would look like for you, we can always talk offline. I'm gonna stop, hand you back to our queen, and thank you very much for listening. I'm shocked that we still have everybody. I thought some people might have dropped off. Thank you, Queen Joyce.
Oh my, thank you, Dr. John. No, no one has jumped off because this was valuable information and we're just learning and we're taking it all in. Very educational. It's like so much information out there. So many things that, I mean, I'm trying to write down. I got pages and pages of things that I'm writing down. But it's things that we didn't know. And just by you explaining it, you just opened it up and explained the difference in all the insurances. And at the beginning, when you read that letter was so powerful. Oh my gosh. Because it just opened up like a whole new understanding that letter from the traditional life insurance policy. I mean, that was just so big and huge. But you hit on so many things. And I don't know if anyone, has a question for Dr. John. But I was thinking about, you had just talked about so much here. It was one of the things you talked about here. And I know you explained it because you went through a whole lot and explained it. And someone that just maybe, and you talked about letting your life insurance lapse and having the insurance for a period of time. And I know sometimes these questions come up, more than one person may have it, and they may be afraid to ask or ashamed to ask because they let that insurance policy lapse. So now they're like, well, I don't want to ask this question because now this has happened and now I don't have the coverage. But if someone is feeling like that and they once had life insurance, but they let it lapse, and you talked about different ways that they could do things, and it kind of depends upon what they're wanting. What would you say to that person now? If it's lapsed, and what can they do at this point?
Right. Thank you for that. You see, the thing is, there's some policies. If you have, let me take something like long-term care, for example. If you have long-term care policies, most of the newer long-term care policies, because they typically they cover people who are more elderly and may run into some cognitive issues, or they need somebody assisting them. When you have some of those policies, when they lapse within 6-7 months of lapsing, they can actually get them reinstated. The only thing to remember is that for things like long-term care, you may be able to just have it reinstated. Some of the companies may want you to pay back, to pay whatever outstanding premiums that you should have paid in order to bring it back. Some of them may actually want you to do some sort of an underwriting again. So if you had like a policy that lapsed and the companies are then asking you to go do like an underwriting because they're saying, what's the person's health now? And if they left it lapse and they're coming back, what did their doctor just tell them? Because they're suspicious. So what I would advise in that situation is, don't just rush back to, especially if you have to do an underwriting, don't just necessarily rush back to the same policy. Look at what else is available, because you may have had policy type A about 20 years ago, and there are newer, more effective, more efficient ones now that may meet your needs. And if you're going to go through underwriting, why don't you just get that? But if those policies are the ones that the company is going to agree that if you pay back the premiums that you owe, and they can reinstate that policy without going through underwriting, and you feel that your health situation may not allow you to be in the same good situation now, then I'll say, hey, you better look for the money and reinstate yourself. But the criticality, the reason why a lot of policies lapse is the fact that people don't review them. You buy the policy, you stuck it away somewhere, And then when you say, oh, yeah, I think I had something some years ago, and then you go look at it and say, oh my God, that went away like 10 years. So if you have a policy, I don't care whether it's a term policy, if 3 years go by and the person that actually help put that policy for you have not reached out to you for some sort of a review or just to check if you're still there, call the company that actually has that policy and say, I need an agent to review my policy.
Mm.
That's the best way to really make sure that you are on top of it. Because in most cases, especially, I mean, if you get a term policy, some term policies will allow you to do to convert them to permanent policies in some future date without any underwriting. And but most permanent policies, if I would say, once you have that policy for a couple of years, maybe 2 years, 3 years, the insurance company will not necessarily go back and try to do an underwriting for you. You can choose to go and do your underwriting. Say, if I got a policy and my health situation was not super good, and I then, did some exercise, did some, the good things I'm supposed to do, and my health situation got better, I can actually request a review of my underwriting. If they underwrite it and I am better off, they may actually give me that better rating. If they underwrite it and my situation has gone worse, they're just gonna ignore it because they're not gonna put the old one there. But the only situation that, just talking about lapsing and talking about re-underwriting, is if you get a policy, most of the time when you're completing the application, they ask you, to the best of your knowledge, do you know, to the best of your knowledge, do you know this? So you, as the person applying, you are answering the questions to the best of your knowledge. It's up to the company at that point to also verify. That's why they ask for your medical records, they ask for all those stuff, and they have their way of finding out that information to verify. If you lie on that application and they find out, they can deny you. If you worked with your healthcare provider or some other person and you actually concealed some information from the insurance company, and then that policy has been in effect for maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 years, and they find out that you knew your situation and you hid it from them, they're going to go back and re-underwrite that policy. The status of limitation will not apply.
Wow. Okay.
So just be truthful. But by the way, especially in the United States now, they get the information from your doctors and they have what they call the medical information board. If you've ever applied for a policy and they said no to you, and you go to apply to another company and they say, has another company said no to you, please don't say no, because they'll find out that information.
Okay.
Just say yes and explain. And your agent can actually help you draft a letter if your situation has improved, because they have an automated system. They call it the medical information board, that when they deny somebody, they put that information in there.
So it's available to all insurance companies. It's just okay. Right. Okay. So very good answers. Like, okay. Wow. Okay. So I mean, so just kind of yeah, like you say, just be truthful.
Just be
Be
truthful.
truthful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be truthful, and your agent can actually write. I mean, we've got people that would have certain conditions, things that the agents can actually help draft a letter based on some of the information from the doctors, to say, yeah, we learned that this was the situation. This person, I saw them physically. They looked physically fit, and I know from discussing with them that these are some of the activities that they work on, and I saw that, or they confirmed that these are some of the medication they take. And so some of those lifestyle questions, an agent will do it. And please, again, remember, both of you have the agent's license is on the line if they tell a lie. And you yourself, you have to make sure you don't also, just because you're answering to the best of your ability, let it be to the best of your ability.
Right. Okay. That makes total sense. Yes. Thank you, Dr. John, for that answer. Very good. And I see there's a hand up. Camlin, you have a question for Dr. John. You can, let's see, I'm going to unmute him and have him ask his question. Camlin, if you have a question for Dr. John, I'm going to unmute you and you can ask your question. Let's see.
I try to.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. I have a question for my sister Debbie and Dr. John. First of all, yeah, for Dr. John, I do appreciate how you dispatch all the all the information about life insurance. But my question for you is, all those companies are building to make money, right? Okay, now you as a specialist of life insurance, what is your advice? Good advice for us.
Okay, so Kamlan, thank you for that question. And it's a very valid question because there is, again, that's one of the myths that is out there, that the insurance companies will not pay when it comes to paying out. So you are 100% correct that the insurance companies are businesses. They are there to make money. And because they need to make money to guarantee that they will be there for the next 100 years to pay our premiums. Because if they cannot make money, then I will not tell you to go buy a policy for them. So the advice that I would give for you is that when you look at the whole idea of risk is really pulling, the insurance companies are pulling a lot of resources. So at any one time, what their aim is that they want to get like 10 million people paying it at once. And then they know that they're going to be able to be paying out monies to maybe 100,000. I mean, I'm just exaggerating the numbers. So if the insurance company has a large pool of people that are paying into it, they are managing the money, and they actually trading with the money, and they're investing the money in their own general account. They're making a profit to keep themselves financially sound, so that over the course of time, 100,000 people may die, but they collected from 1 million people, and they would be able to pay for those 100,000 and still be able to maintain it. What I want to tell you, my brother, is that if you are going to have a policy, it's a very good question you asked. If you are going to have a life insurance policy with any company, the first thing you want to do is try and check at the rating of that company and see how long they have been there for. So, for example, the companies that I pulled up, people like in the US, like Nationwide, they have this jingle Nationwide, it's on your side. That's a company that has been around for 153 years or more.
Okay.
And you go and you can go to their website and you can say, okay, you want to find the financial rating of that company. There's certain rating companies that actually rate insurance companies. Moody's, A&M Best. So when you see, just like S&P 500 will rate financial institutions, insurance companies are also rated. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that if you are trying to put a policy for your kid who is 2 months old, and you're hoping that we're running an illustration for the next 121 years, you want to at least have the confidence that that company will be there. And so check through that company. Don't just come and get some company because I am your friend and I just told you go to this company. So the advice I will give you is look into that company and make sure that that company has history, that they are financially sound, and people really know who they are, because it's not something that we're doing like some day trading that you put your money today and want to take it out tomorrow. A life insurance is a long-term investment, and you want, or a long-term contract, and you want to make sure that the companies you're dealing with, they have the history, and you can do your own due diligence to see that the probability that they will be there when our kids are having kids is still good.
Thank you very much, because I have a friend who has issue with life insurance. That's what, when you try to explain those things, I have to ask you this question, but your answer is very, very good. Is very powerful answer you give to us. You have to know the reality of the community. If you don't, because if the person die, only things they do first is to frozen the person account. And when they froze the account, now you have to go find the lawyer, all that, you have to spend all those money, or you are looking for the money right now. They have to freeze your account, or you see all that, Thank you.
Thank you. And just another thing, as I said, one of the reasons why people may have problems with policies may not necessarily have to do with the insurance company. It may actually have to do with the brokerage company that sold that insurance policy. So the way that there's some there's some companies that will actually be like intermediaries between you and that company and the owner of the policy.
They are like a contractor.
Right. So make sure that when that person puts that policy in effect, you can actually call the company, that the insurance company itself. If I bring you an insurance policy and I tell you that the only person that you're going to have to talk to is me, that should be a red flag. If I come in and I don't tell you that this policy is with company A, and this is the phone number for the company A, and that the product actually has the contact number for the company A, then there's a red flag. Secondly, some of us agents, sometimes we sell the policies to clients and we do not actually advise them appropriately. It's not that most of them are just bad, it's probably that they don't really fully understand the product as well. And that's why when I opened my statement, I said, some of the things I share here, some of you guys will probably be more aware of it than half of the agents that are out there.
Thank you. Okay. For my sister Debbie, thank you for sharing us patience, faith, and hope. But I know they say faith without action is not faith. Can you explain a little bit for us when our faith is weak, how we can strengthen our faith?
Sister Debbie?
Is she hearing? Maybe.
I don't know if she can hear us. Camlin. Debbie, can you hear us?
She doesn't seem like she's hearing.
I don't think she can hear us.
She mute herself or what?
No, I don't know if she's able to hear. Sister Debbie, can you hear us?
No.
No, she can't hear us.
Do we have somebody inside who can, because it's good stuff she shared. Sometimes our faith is weak, and how we can strengthen, and what make our faith weak. Look, she can share
So
with us.
sometimes your faith is weak, and I guess it's, you know, it's depending on you, what your belief is, who you believe in, and that can make your faith weak. If you don't have, like, I don't know if you have faith in God, or if you have faith in a higher power, or you're putting all your trust in yourself and man, or where you're putting your trust at, and that can determine your level of faith as well too. So some things you can do is to strengthen your faith, is you can, you know, I don't know what your belief system is. If you believe in God, you know, trusting him, as you said, having trust and hope and belief in yourself, and believing that um, whatever situation you're going through, that there is hope. And if you have that faith in God, believing and trusting him, that he's going to help you get through any situation. Having a friend to talk to, if you have a friend that's strong and positive, surrounding yourself with positive people, surrounding yourself with people that believe, that have faith, and that are strengthened as well. I don't know if you know, if you belong to a congregation of a church, talking to a pastor sometimes, and just you know, making sure that you are, sometimes we look to other people to encourage us. But sometimes we have to look deep in ourselves and find that strength and encourage ourselves as well too. You know, so surrounding yourself, like on these platforms, surrounding yourself with positive people, good people. Um, you know, I don't know if that helps at all. Believing in God and trusting him, having that hope that, you know, things will get better. I don't know if anyone with Dr. John, if you want to jump in there.
No, I mean, I think your last point was was what I was gonna just throw to my brother there, that sometimes if you look at where we are in unpassive, for
Thank
example.
you. I'm going to come over there, but you take the point where I want to come. Okay, go.
Okay, so if we look at where we are in unpassive, most of the people that have sort of given up are those
Thank you.
lone rangers. They all are there by themselves, and they don't have either a group of people that see what is going and see a common vision, and can you know, hear things and say, okay, you know, this is what I heard, this is what I've seen, this is what I've experienced. And I was just thinking in terms of when you see like these migrating birds, when they're traveling, you know, once they travel in formation, they can just keep flying and supporting each other and go for very long distances. But if I am sitting there by myself, I could sort of just lock myself in and say, is this thing really there or not? And so for me, when your faith is down, apart from the fact that there is that internal force that can get you going, being in the middle of people who are like-minded, being in having a support system that has the same common vision will actually make you to be less skeptical and more and less prone to losing your faith than if it was to go all by yourself. That's what I was just gonna add.
Thank you. Because I asked this question because people who don't come in the webinar don't believe what Unpassive is doing.
Yep.
Did you understand?
Mm-hmm.
But people who are outside don't know. But people who come in the webinar touch, see, that strength them, that give them power to know what Unpassive will do in the future. You know,
Right.
if you see Jesus, the apostle of Jesus saw many things in Jesus. That's why they believe them. People who don't believe Jesus, before Jesus healed them, he asked them, do you believe?
Yeah.
Right.
And if he say yes, your faith save you. Your faith save you. People who come in the webinar are touching Unpassive, are seeing stuff on Unpassive, and they will have a faith on Unpassive. But people who don't, or they just wait until all the good things come before they will start to say all the things they want to say. That's what I want our sister to go better. Dr. John, you read my mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamlin, so much for your questions and surrounding yourself with, like-minded people. Definitely is going to be one thing. But thank you so much for your questions and your contributions. We really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. And I see Mamadou. Excuse me, your hand is up. Yes. Welcome, and let's see if we can unmute you here. There you go, Mamadou.
Yes, Queen Joyce. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to all my family. Thank you very much for allowing me to say something. First of all, I just want to thank and acknowledge Sister Debbie for her mindset tonight, and for our big brother John. Thank you very much, as always. You are so kind and generous to us. Just for asking, if you have an insurance policy that become ineffective either because of lapses or something else, can it be reactivated? And if you can, how long you think it will be ineffective for you to be able to reactivate it?
Okay, I think we touched that briefly on that, Mamadou. Thank you for that question. Yes, most companies, once it's been inactive within 6 months to a year, they would actually allow you to reactivate it. And as I had mentioned, some of them will only allow you to reactivate if you pay the dues that are past due. Some of them, again, you need to look at the company case by case. Some of them will actually think that you had abandoned the policy and then you went maybe for a physical exam and the doctors told you that there's something with you and now you want to jump back in. So they would want to do an underwriting. So typically within 6 months, you may be able to get it reactivated. If it's been more than 6 months and it's lapsed, you would probably have to do an underwriting. One thing that I can just mention here in passing is that most of those lapsed policies come by because people don't review, as I mentioned. But when they happen and you want to, especially the company said, okay, apply for reinstatement. We're going to send it to underwriting, and underwriting is going to then review your medical records and look at your activities to make sure you're not into skydiving and bungee jumping and some of those crazy things. Once they start going through those, my advice to people normally is look at whether there are newer types of policies that may have better features than what you may have had earlier. And when you're completing the application, they will ask you, did you have a policy that lapsed within the last 3 years or something like that? They ask that question. And I tell the person, did you have? And the answer is yes. So they'll go in there and say, yes, I had the policy. It lapsed because, financially I had a job and I couldn't keep it up or give a reason why it lapsed. They would appreciate that you're able to do that. And they will sometimes ask you if it was a financial issue. They normally ask about your income, and the income, typically they look at your income and look at a multiple of X. So somebody who is like 40 years, they may have a life insurance of about 10 to 20 times their salary. But somebody who is like 60 years may only have a policy of 5 to 10 times the salary. So they may try to look at that just to make sure that you don't find yourself again in a situation where that policy lapses. Because when it lapses, you lose money and they lose business and they don't like it. And most agents get penalized when they write bad business. So if somebody come and just sell you something that you didn't like and you cancel it, it actually reflects negatively on the agents. So
Okay, thank you.
it forces them to try and do a good job.
Okay, thank you. So, another question: if you have, can you obtain a life insurance policy for your kids if they are not within the same country?
Typically no. So the agent is not allowed to solicit business out of an area that they are not licensed. So if you have your kids, say, in Africa, you cannot get a life insurance for them because the agent would not be licensed to do the business there. But if the kids were to come into the United States, you can get a policy for them, and they will consider it that way, because I did mention in passing that in the United States, at least, the insurance is regulated by the states. So anybody that talks to you about a life insurance policy, tries to sell you a life insurance policy in your state, must be licensed in your state. At least you can have the initial discussion, but once it starts getting to a point of wanting to take an application, you must have a license in that state. If you don't, and that application is submitted, it is declined, because that agent is not duly licensed by that state.
Okay, but you can also obtain an insurance through an agent outside your state.
Yes. For example, I am licensed. I am in New Jersey, but I'm licensed in about 24 states. So
good.
I can only talk to you in your state because I'm licensed in your state, but I am not physically resident in your state. If I then go to, let me say, North Dakota, for example, I don't have a license for North Dakota. And if somebody came and started talking to me from that area, I may give them some initial information, but if the person is serious, I have to make sure that I go to that state and apply for their license before I can do any business there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Very good question, Mamadou. Thank you so much. That's good to know. So yes, these are very good questions. Dr. John, you talked about assets being frozen if someone deceases. Do you think, say someone had insurance at one point or something, and then they decided they didn't want insurance, and they said, I have money saved up to cover my expenses, funeral, in the event that I decease. Do you think that's a good idea to have that? Because when you said money's frozen up, do you think that's a good idea, or would you talk to a person that said something like that?
Yeah, I think that's a tricky one, because the person has the money saved up for their funeral expenses, and if that money is sitting in their bank account, chances are that the family would have to spend out of pocket and then start figuring out how to get that money. Because unless that's something I learned and I have not practiced it or have not implemented it for myself, is this idea from the trusts, when we're doing the trust, that you can actually have is it a co-owner for your bank account or something like that? So
co-signer, yes, something like that, yes.
So that individual, so if, say, you put my name down as a co-signer or a co-owner of your bank account, and something happens to me, you can go sign that account and then take those funds and use them. But in most cases, 99.99% of us, we have our bank account, we keep it very safe to ourselves.
Yep.
Yep. So in that case, that's some piece of information that thank you for bringing that one up. I talked about going to my bank and asking them how to do that. But then if you end up in a situation where you had like an estate and a trust and so on, that is a trustee is handling that, you don't have an issue. But if somebody definitely has $50,000 sitting in their savings account and that money is their funeral expense and the person expires, yes, the family will have to literally either wait for a couple of months to go through the hoops to get that money out, or they go ahead, do the funeral, and then on some loans, and then pay the money back. Or some people actually prepay their own funerals, which is an alternative to having a life in like a final expenses insurance.
Okay. So they could do final expenses insurance or have their name put on the account if that was.
Yes, I've have like an alternative person, like a co-signer. That way, that the two of them have access to that account, and it may be that. I mean, I want to find out. It may be if I find out, I'll probably share. It may be that you could stipulate that if I'm not there, and then this person signs, or rather than say it's a co-account where we're both signing two checks, I need to find that information out. I don't know yet, but somebody did mention it.
Right. Okay. And you talked about like nationwide insurance, and it just brought to my mind, I always see those Gerber commercials about kids. And,
Mm-hmm.
is that like, would that be a good thing for parents to do with their children, do that Gerber if they didn't have any other options? Or is that something that's just out there?
It's there. I mean, the Gerber policy is they talk about it that it's it grows with your child, and when it gets to a certain point, it makes the amount that you're paying doubles. Again, something is better than nothing. What I would say is the best thing is to really sit down and say, what am I trying to achieve? What is Are there any alternatives? Gerber has been around for a very long time, but those Gerber policies, 99.9% of them are whole life policies. And so you may want to also look at alternatives to see if the Gerber is a good one. Why? Because Gerber would give a life insurance policy for as little as $25,000 or $15,000, and which just the whole idea is they're trying to encourage you to start that concept of a life insurance with a kid, and then hopefully if they learn about it, they can do something better in the future. And then you get some of these bigger guys, they may say the minimum policy they want for you is $100,000. So again, what is it you're trying to do, and how much are you trying to fund it with? If somebody wants to go fund a policy with $15 a month, I'll say that if you have a policy which is $25,000 and you're paying $15 a month, chances are that $9 to $10 are going towards the cost.
Mm. Wow.
So you need to you need to really look at let somebody run some examples for you. But as you say, something is better than nothing.
Exactly. Okay. That just brought to my mind when I see those commercials out there. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, is that something? I know you talked about, I don't know if anyone else has the questions. I'll just keep firing them at you if not. Just in general. So say someone had, some of these questions people may be thinking and, not asking, but they had and you talked about that a little bit, had a terminal illness, or they just had diagnosed with some illness. They are looking for insurance. And then sometimes people just say, I'm just too old to even get insurance, and they don't even want to do it. It's probably two questions were in one. But if they had an illness and they didn't know where to turn, what would their options be? And then for a person that says that, hey, I'm just way too old to get insurance, and so
So
therefore I'm not even gonna
way
bother.
too old typically goes towards, as I said, most insurance companies and most insurance companies insure from 0 to 80. A few go to 85, 90, but I would say you have to really dig deep to get one which is above 85.
Okay.
That said, also remember the graphic of the cost of insurance goes up with age. So
Right.
if I start getting somebody who is like in their 70s, 80s, trying to look for insurance, then that person is most likely looking for final expenses insurance. Because if you think about it, having a term policy, most term policies will only insure you to 80. So that person will probably not be able to get something more than a 1-year term, which makes no sense. So most people around that age are looking for final expenses, maybe looking for $8, $9, $10, $11,000 of funeral expenses. And when you look at the category of funeral expenses, there are some funeral expenses they call, I think, immediate solution. I think the other companies call them differently. And you may find some companies that advertise and tell you there that no met final expense policies, and you just need to go put your age, put the amount, and they give you how many dollars per thousand, and then you multiply those dollars and get the how much the premium is going to be. You submit the application. If again, most of them will, as long as it's not something like cancers, they will probably accept you, or you can take the one that says it's a non-medical. They'll just take it, and the only catch in that situation is that they did not do any medical. You start paying some premium, but they tell you that if that person passes away within 2 years of getting that policy, they're just gonna refund your money to you, maybe with some 5% interest. After 2 years, then if the person had taken a $10,000 or a $20,000, if they qualified for that large amount, they will then pay. But within those, most of them use a 2-year window. Within that 2-year window, if the person is deceased, they will literally say, okay, how much have you paid? Like the premiums. The premiums I paid up till now were like $800. So they may write you a check for $850.
Wow. Okay.
So there were no medicals. You took a chance, and they said, yeah, we're taking a chance. We're not going to ask you for all those questions, but we don't want a situation where you just went and they say, okay, you got 6 months and then you're running to get something. So that's how they cover themselves on that one. But then if you're looking at somebody who is in their 60s, 70s, if they want other policies beyond just term, there are some prominent policies that are designed more to provide death benefit than to build cash. And you need to look at those ones to see what options actually exist for them. So yes, and then in some cases, now that you ask, like in the US here, some of those insurance companies may actually sell your insurance to a reinsurance company. So literally, they are not the ones carrying the risk. They actually passing the risk to another person who would then accept to carry that risk. So, which means it's gonna cost you more because it's a reinsurance. It's not like I'm not the premier guy giving you. I'm giving to the other guy who's more interested in carrying those risks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some things that, like, is the things that we don't even really think about till you start talking about. It's like, oh, what
Yeah.
if this happens? But it's good to know, because now, because some people do, say, hey, I just feel like I'm too old. I haven't gotten insurance. I'm too old to get it, or,
Just talk about what you need it for, and then let somebody find out whether those options exist. because many of us, I'm either too old, and maybe I have some conditions. And if you're looking for, I mean, things like people who have things like diabetes, hypertension, and so on, if they're looking for some permanent policies, they may not necessarily be approved at a good rating. But if they're looking for final expenses and they're taking medications that control those conditions, they may actually be in a good situation.
Oh, okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for those answers. I see William is here and he has his hand up. William, go right ahead and ask Dr. John your question. Thank you.
Yes, sometimes at church, when people pass away, they donate the money for the funeral expenses. So, can you get an insurance policy to keep the expenses down?
I would say that yes, Bill, in the sense that the final expenses that we've been talking about, when you go to look for like a final expenses type policy, those ones can literally range from 5,000, sometimes some of them even as low as 3,000 or 4,000, all the way up to typically 25,000 for people who are above a certain age.
Yeah.
And the older you are, the less that they will allow you. But somebody who is in the US anyway, somebody who is in their 70s can easily get like a final expenses policy of about 20,000. If you start going towards the 75 to 80, you may not be able to get more than $10,000. Again, the cost is not too much. So in those cases, yes, somebody might, again, you have to look at it. If the person is looking for a $5,000 policy that they may have for themselves, yes, the final expenses policies can be as little as that.
So, I'm saying that they donate the money.
Mhm.
So to keep the expenses down, because it's a hard time now for everybody to make money. So we want to keep the expenses down. So if you can apply for a funeral expense to keep the expense down,
Right.
that's what I'm looking for.
Yes, and you get some things that we have even I've come across a situation here in New Jersey where the church actually they took like uh, 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 an insurance policy on their pastor, the final expenses policy that the church organization was actually paying for their clergy. So if something were to happen, especially as we're approaching COVID, they were kind of worried because the pastor that was there was like 82. And so the church were prepared to be paying for the premiums. And in that case, the church was the owner of that policy. So if something happens to the pastor, the check will be written to the church, and then the church will use it however they want to use it.
Yes, because then the expense would go down because
Yes.
the donations wouldn't be high.
Yeah, right.
So you'd have to look into those things, right?
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, so as I said, remember when you do a life insurance policy, there are three parties to any policy. The first party is the owner of that policy. That's the person that basically is going out to get an insurance policy on somebody. The second party is the insured. That's the person whose life is going to determine the cost of the policy and on who they're going to decide that they're going to pay after the person expires. And the third party is the beneficiary. The beneficiary is the one that they're going to write the check to. When you are working for a company, you would or most likely have never seen your insurance certificate. because that policy is owned by the company, and they're the ones that are paying the premiums.
Oh, yes.
They have insured your life, but they could choose that the company be the beneficiary, or they could choose that your next of kin be the beneficiary. So if something were to happen to you, the employee, the company is the one that's going to contact the insurance company, because they are the owners and they're the ones who hold the certificate. And then the insurance company will say, okay, let's see who is the beneficiary of this policy. Is it the spouse of that person, or is it the company? Because the company can choose to have the money come to them and then they decide how much to give the employee.
I know the insurance companies pay premium. You can make a one-time payment, two or three payments to bring the cost down.
Yes, you can do that. And when you do a policy, what happens is that there's some policies that I ran the illustration. I did not show that, which is a good thing you showed, because you can actually there's something called single premium, and you can get a policy and they tell you that you have the option of just paying boom one time and it's covered. The policy is all paid out. Or you can be paying monthly, or you can pay yearly, or you can pay quarterly. So if it's depending on the size of the policy, you can actually pay it once. And somebody who has maybe, let's think about an individual, say I have maybe $200,000, which I'm setting aside to pay estate taxes on my estate. And I'm not looking to get any cash from that policy. I'm not looking at any of those living benefits. I just want to go out there and say, would $200,000 be able to buy, let's say, $600,000 life insurance for me and pay it in one go? If I can do that, I just write a check for $200,000 and give it to the life insurance company, and my estate has access to $600,000 from today.
So what's your suggestion? A one-time payment, two-time payment, three-time? What is the best?
So again, it depends what you want to do. If the policy is designed primarily for the death benefit and you don't plan to access any cash in the policy during its lifetime, and you have that lump sum, you want to just pay it and get it out of the way, then you can pay it. The problem is that if it is a permanent policy and the cash grows in that policy, and in the US, if you pull that cash out, it could be taxed, because that policy is something they call a modified endowment contract. If that policy was meant just like as I explained and said, I just want to use it for my estate plan, and I don't want to misuse that money. I want to guarantee that I pay everything and it doesn't lapse, then that would drive me towards the 1 or 2 time payment. And that's why I made that statement that it depends, and we need to really look at what your need is. What is it you want to do? And depending on that, we'll be able to advise you. There's no standard answer that you must do this or that.
No, because my situation, I retired, and my insurance, I went to another person because you need a dental plan. So cleaning and other issues are very expensive. So you need to bring that down. So you have to have some sort of insurance. For now, for me to go to Pro Physio for sessions, it's $100, but I got to pay out of my pocket first, and then the company reimburses me 80% of the money.
Okay, so the two things here we're talking, Bill. Maybe I was answering life insurance and you're talking about health insurance here.
Yes.
Right. So for your health insurance, most of the health insurance plans, they differ, and a lot of the health insurance plans, especially for retirees, you end up having to contribute. I know like in the US, they have the Medicare people contribute towards that, but then they have all these co-pays that they pay. And in some cases, if they have private health insurance, which is what you may be talking about there, your insurance may be either an indemnity or it may be a reimbursable. So if you have an indemnity insurance, health insurance plan, then the insurance will just say, okay, for this service, this is how much it costs. We'll give you the money. Whether you use all of it or you don't use enough, we're done with you. And then, but most other health insurance policies, they tend to be the reimbursable, where they tell you, you pay something out of your pocket, then they will pay 80% of the cost. And those are the health insurance plans. We didn't really dwell into those ones here because the health insurance market is very complex. But I was talking about life insurance in the event that you're looking
Oh,
at that.
yes.
Yeah, but for your health insurance, yes, if you have a reimbursement plan, you will probably have an out of pocket and you probably have a deductible. And then some insurance companies will ask the provider to bill them directly. Some will ask them to bill you 100% and then you submit the invoice. So
Yeah.
it depends on
Yeah.
your company.
Because when someone passes away, you don't want the cost to go to your
Beneficiaries or
yes,
yeah,
your sisters or
right.
yeah, because the money is they're having a hard time making money already. So
Exactly.
you got to think about that.
And that's where the life insurance, when I was very earlier on, when we're talking about that method of determining how much insurance we need, when you talk about your dime method, when you talk about the debt, okay, what medical debt do I have? What car loans do I have? What other student loans do I have? Put them on your debt category. In income, it may be your social security or your pension that is the only income you have now. And then the other things will determine how much life insurance you have so that something were to happen to you, you don't want your family to be going through the emotional stress and then they're encumbered with the debts that were left in your estate, because a lot of people think that when I'm gone, my medical bills will probably disappear and go into the grave with me. Not
It's not
necessarily.
that case.
No, because that they'll go to your estate unless the estate is completely broke. That's a good question. Thank you for that, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your contributions and your questions. Great questions tonight. Thank you so much. Dr. John, you hit on so much tonight that was just like so powerful. And I like when you talked about the part where you're taking the insurance and you can, or if you have whole life insurance, I think it was whole life, and you can take the money out. How you're saying that insurance is just not just for death, but it's for using for life and for
Life.
things that you may need, and things that you can go into that money and use it for different things. Because you talked to, we use we pay car insurance and all those other things, but we never think about the part where the life insurance can be used for other things. So I like when you said that. That was really, really good point there. We can take it out and use it for other things. And we take care of everything else in the cars and the houses and vacations, but then we don't take care of our, like you say, we are the ATMs for our family. So, and then here we are left out, and we don't even cover that. So those are some good points right there. Thank you so much. Let's see. Did anyone else have any questions for Dr. John? Some great information tonight. Dr. Pat, yes.
Yeah, I don't really have a question, but I want to say that
You better don't.
after much what's the word I want to use? Twisting of my hand, convincing. I got myself a policy, and trust me, I've used it. Okay, and I'm still alive. I've used it in all my emergencies. And so I'm glad I did that. So I don't know, the people that are waiting for me to die, they might not have anything because I've been using I've been using my while I am alive. Hey, I can be alive and have an emergency and I'm struggling. So yes, it's a living benefit, right? But remember the concept of insurance that we knew in those days was you have to die. And everybody
Right.
was afraid to take an insurance because family members can kill you just because they want insurance. Well, if any family member wants to kill me, sorry, I'm using mine. It's gone. So yes, Sister Joyce, insurance
Nothing
works.
left.
We can live on it, and I'm glad I did that, even though it was late because I wish I knew earlier. Could have built myself some money, and maybe I would have been a millionaire now, but I did not know earlier. So I
Yeah.
started kind of the other end of the curve, right? That my expense was higher. However, but I started. Yeah, I started, and I'm glad that when I started, I did not know how am I going to contribute to this insurance. Where's the money going to come from? And Dr. John said, bring your pay stub. I said, what do you want to do with my pay stub? I said, bring it, I'll show you where the money is going to come from. And yes, we always say, don't leave any money away from the table. But why contribute more than they're matching in your 401k? Why contribute more than the company is matching your 401k? So you still have to pay the tax later. So I contributed up to the percentage that, which was, I think 6% that my company matched, because I don't want to leave any money out of the table, right, at the end of the day. And the rest that I used to try to put cash up, I put in my life insurance policy. I borrow. It doesn't show in anything that I'm doing, right? It doesn't affect my credit. If I want to pay back, I pay. If I don't want to, they don't force me. But I'm trying to pay back because I'm still living, right? So I can see I have some fun in it if I need to borrow. So yeah, it's been, I don't have to write any application to the bank to borrow money. I just write to them that I want money. If it's there, they give it to me. No question asked. It's nice.
Oh, wow.
Almost 0% interest, right? Zero, almost, I think it's by zero. I don't know. I think Dr. John talked about it, but it's almost like 0% interest. But I'm paying it back to myself, right? I'm paying back to my policy. So
Right.
it's a good thing that we are educated, because it's my people that have lack of knowledge. I was one of those ones. And how many years did it take me? 5 years? It was in the business of 5 years. It took almost like 5 years to get me to to believe. So trust me, we are all learning, and I want to thank you for your knowledge, for impacting all of us, for staying fast. Even though I want you to make money, but he goes into this and said, I want my community to not be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
I want my community to have multiple vehicles to grow their money. I'm like, community, you have to make money for me. But he does this passionately, actually for free, basically, although she's supposed to be making money. He spent time to do the course and study and get his certificate. But the educational part, the consultation part, he does it for free. Of course, if you take a policy, you're not paying to him, you're paying to the insurance company. He might make a percentage out of the policy, but that's not what he is pushing. And I think that's why I will go to him, because he will tell you what is best for you, not what will give him the biggest, what is the word, commission, right? Is what is best for you. He always said, that's why he always said we have to do a financial need analysis. Trust me, I had to do a financial need analysis. So it wasn't, oh, this is the policy. No, what do you want? And you have to fill that financial need form, which I hated, but it really opened your eyes. So yes, if it's too late for us, is it too late for our children? Is it too late for our grandchildren? Let's make them baby millionaires. Thanks, Sister Joyce, for great moderating today. And thanks, Sister Debbie, for the mindset. And I see our sister Julie is here quietly in the background. We'll just let her. Sister Julie, you are in our prayers. I know it's been a rough day today. I know Chloe is in the hospital, watch over good doctors. We continue to pray for the medical team that they will be the best, and God will ordain her treatment through them as a vessel. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. That was powerful. I mean, I'm glad you said that because, like you said, you took you a while, but you finally did it. And if we knew, wow, now, if we knew then what we knew now, we would be in a totally different place. And I appreciate, like you said, I appreciate Dr. John for opening our eyes and enlightening us, because a lot of people still think that way. If I get an insurance policy, that means that someone wants me to die, they're going to try and kill me. But, they go on with this whole story, which is so, like you said, when you put those myths out there, that was a myth. It's like, that's not the truth. But now that we're educated and we know, when we know better, we do better, and we try to improve. And now we can teach our children and our grandchildren, so that they know, and they have the chance to build wealth, and they have the chance to do things differently than what we did, which we wish we had known, but we didn't. So now we're giving them the opportunity to be better and to build wealth and to do things differently than we did. So, I mean, this is huge, great information, educational, that we can share with everyone that we know, because everyone needs to know this, that insurance is more than just for, end of life. Insurance can be used for so many things. And I remember my parents had bought, back in the day, they bought all these whole life insurance policies, and they probably took them and hid them. I remember finding something under, that they put it under the mattress. So it's hidden there. And then years later you find it and it's like, oh, this thing probably expired, 20 years ago or something. And but they thought that, like you said, they thought they were doing right because they take it and they hide it and put it away, because they say once you buy it, that's it. You don't need to do anything else. But I do remember those insurance agents used to come to our house, and my parents would pay that policy, faithfully every month. And but then it lapsed, and now boom, that though too bad didn't know what we know now would be, yeah, like Dr. Pat said. We'd be so wealthy, we could do those things. But just appreciate you and sharing all this information. That's much needed, much needed. So I don't know, Dr. Benny, are you there? Or Sister Debbie? I don't know if Debbie can hear us or not. And Dr. Benny, Dr. Smile, she's stepped away. Okay. Did anyone else have anything for Dr. John? Question, comment? Because this was powerful information, and it's very useful. But even so, I just hope that you would take this information and share it with your family, share it with your loved ones, friends. Everyone needs to know this. And Dr. John, are you licensed in Michigan? That's the question. You are? Awesome. Okay. Wonderful. And so if he's licensed in your state, I love this because as Dr. Pat said, and Dr. John said it as well too, he's not out there to see how much commission he can get. He wants to help people, and he's going to do everything in his power to try and help you. I know he's not on here for that. So, but that's just me talking, because I'm like, we all need to know this. We all need to make sure that we have these things in place. So Dr. John will be a great resource, to talk to. If you're in need in that area, definitely. So thank you again and again and again. Very powerful, very great. Sister Debbie, are you available to speak?
I was available from the beginning and still am available. My wonderful, lovely, pretty, gorgeous co-moderator, thank you. You've done an awesome job tonight. I don't know where to begin to thank you, to appreciate you. And you just stayed there. I was going back and forth, my camera off, my camera on. And you were just there, smiling and doing what you do best. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome. And I listened to my sisters, and I listened to all the previous speakers, including Brother Mamadou. And what I have to say is that I want to thank our brother who gives to us unconditionally, week after week, not only on this forum, but other forums. That training is something that you have to pay a minimum of $250 to $500 an hour to listen to his presentation in a lot of forums. But somehow, because we are on perseverance, we're getting it for free. And we're not even appreciating it. Lord, I just want to say thank you for everyone and anyone who listens, who does something, and who can come up with ideas on how to help us to stay focused on our journey. Because when on passive gets up to its, when it maximizes where whatever it's supposed to be, guess what? We need teachers, we need mentors, we need leaders who will guide us through the path. Because there are a lot of grandparents, a lot of great-grandparents who are on perseverance who need to know about these life insurance things, and even the children themselves who need to know as well. So we appreciate you, Dr. John, for your time, for your research, and for your endless sharing with Julie Peer Empowering Humanity on a weekly basis. Thank you. And to say, Sister Julie, we are praying for you. We are praying for Chloe. I know that there are several people who say they're atheists. They do not believe. If you are an atheist and you do not believe in a supreme being, you do not believe in anything, you believe in something, whatever you believe in, and you are part of this forum, we appreciate you for being part of it. We appreciate you for being part of Unpassive, and we call on you to call on your atheist background and pray for this one little kid who needs some hope in her life. And her name is Chloe.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Let us have and not forget Chloe in our daily prayers. Going henceforth, let us remember that we have someone in our life who needs us constantly 24/7, and her name is Chloe. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. And God has given her a lot of attributes. But health-wise, something is not where it should be. And we're asking each and everyone who is able to listen and is with us to have her in your prayers. Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful time having you all. And I thank you, my darling Sister Joyce. I'm passing it back to you. And I appreciate everyone for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Sister Debbie. Thank you for your wise and kind words and your wisdom. I always love hearing you speak, and you're just such a beautiful and wonderful person. You share and you help in so many ways, and we just really appreciate you too. I just want you to know that I really appreciate you for everything that you do and all the contributions that you make. For you, I know you do a lot of webinars as well, and you're always there supporting, and you're always here supporting Julie. And like you said, and Dr. John, is just, it's priceless what you do, because like you said, you share from your heart and you do so much research and you educate us, and things that we're going to need in Unpassive, as Debbie said, down the road when things start to happen, we're going to look back and we'll be able to use all this information. We may not know it all because we don't have to know it all, but we'll know some of the language, and we'll know what to say to people, and we'll know how to conversate and interact with people, you know, when they're talking about different things and insurance and you know, trust funds and all those things like that. We'll know exactly what we need to say so that we can get the things that we need. It's just so important that we take this information in and that we're always learning, we're always being educated because you can never learn enough. It's like when you stop learning, then you know you need to go back to the drawing board. It's like if you feel that you learned everything enough and you've learned and you know it everything, then yeah, it's like it's time for me to go back to the drawing board. We need to go back and start to relearn again because you never stop learning. You're never too old to learn. You never stop learning. You know, knowledge is power. So now that we have this knowledge, we can use it for our advantage and then to help our children and next generations and, you know, our neighbors and friends, people that need this and break up some of those myths about insurance and trust and about money and those things like that, changing our minds, changing our hearts. And like you said, when we know better, we do better. So thank you so much, Dr. John. We appreciate you so much for everything that you give, you know, every week. And you don't have to do it, but you do. So from the, you know, it's just from the generosity in the bottom of your heart. And we totally appreciate you for doing that. And we thank you, Dr. Pat, for sharing him with us and letting him, you know, letting us love on him and love on you. So we thank you and appreciate you so much as well. I see my beautiful sister, Dr. Smiles. Caroline, welcome. I see you here. Welcome, welcome. I don't know if you wanted to say a word or say something to us and to Dr. John.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Joyce. I came in late because I've been working tonight. And I'm sorry that I missed Dr. John's presentation. Hopefully this is being recorded so I can go back and listen to it because he's always brings value to the program. So I appreciate him and I appreciate you, Joyce and Julie and all the other and Debbie and all the other ones who are here tonight. And I just cannot wait until the day comes that we can put some of this important information that Dr. John's been sharing with us to use. So I'm praying for that day to happen and for it to happen pretty soon.
Yes. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
That is so true. We'll be able to put some of this to use and like you say, pretty soon. It's happening, it's coming, and we know it's just right around the corner. So, you know, I'm glad you showed up for work. And like you say, Dr. John always has great information. It is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back. I mean, it's well worth going back to listen to because I have to listen to it again because, you know, when you're sitting here trying to moderate and listen, you know, you miss some things. Even though I was writing, I have like 3 or 4 pages that I was writing. It's like I'm trying to keep up. But always going back to listen because you always miss something. And then there's something important that you can pick up and, you know, get. So yes, definitely go back and listen to the recording. Julie will have it or Dr. Pat, one of them will have the recording for you to get for us to go back and get. So yes, thank you. And yes, Julie, we're praying for you. We're praying for Chloe. We love you. We're holding you guys up and you in the background. We know you're here. Just rest, take care of yourself, take care of your family. You know, when you're able to come on, when you're able to come back, you know, that's, you know, take the time that you need to take care of yourself, my dear. Take the time that you need to take care of yourself and your family. Kamran, welcome. And I know Dr. been waiting and go ahead, Kamran. We'll go right ahead. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Joyce. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, okay. I just want to add in to Brother John. Brother John, you're doing a wonderful job. You're always doing the best. There are some people they do not know what's maybe you're talking too much about insurance, that la, this la, you know, some. But for me, I just give you a scenario. The person who having cancer, you know, stage 4, he knows how important to live. Am I right? So same goes to the person who go through all these financial problems. This is it's also like a cancer. Once you go very deep, cannot survive, cannot financially. I mean, it's like it's getting worse. He knows. If he knows all about what you're sharing earlier, if he knows about all this financial planning, he's the one who will understand what you're talking. Am I right? So thank you, Brother John. You're doing a wonderful job. God bless you.
Thank you, Brother Kumar. It's always glad to have you. I mean, always good to have you. We appreciate you. You're always supporting Julie, and we appreciate you. And thank you for your contributions and your kind words. We appreciate you so much, brother. Thanks for being here. And my beautiful, wonderful, smiley sister, Dr. Benny, you've been waiting patiently. And we'd love to hear from you, my dear. Unmute yourself if you're able to. There you go.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I know I will not say that much, but I want to thank Dr. John. I want to really thank you because I noticed that insurance is very important, well, not only to me, but to everybody. But it's unfortunate that people don't really understand the importance. The reason I'm saying it is because I'm giving an example here in Maryland, United States. We have been begging people to buy insurance and they don't. But when someone dies within that family, they're now expecting us to contribute. And we don't really have time for that. I believe that we'll continue to encourage people to purchase this life insurance because it is important. I would say this is an astonishing presentation. You started things from 8 o'clock and you're still here. The knowledge that you have instilled into us, we appreciate you, Dr. John. Thank you for this platform. I want to thank God for everything that he has done. God created you and I, all of us, in his image. And we are praying for Julie's daughter, no matter what is happening, that we just want her to get well. Knowing, the pictures that I've seen about her, I'm just praying that God should help her, let her come back to us. That's all I need from God. And I pray that, Father, you are listening to us. Everybody is praying that you should help our daughter to come back. I want to thank you, Jehovah. And Julie Pierre, our queen, you'll be okay. We're just praying that I just want you to be strong. Please. Thank you. Thank you so much, Queen Joyce. Queen Debbie, I want to thank you for this mindset. We really appreciate you. I just want to thank each and everyone. Our Queen, Dr. Pat, I love you all. Hi, Sister Caroline. Thank you so much for coming to support us. We love you. Thank you, Queen Joyce, for your moderation. Thank you for everything. Thank you for supporting this amazing webinar. We love you. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Benny, so much. Thank you so much. We love you right back and love you more. We love all you guys so much and appreciate everything that you do. One thing is so thankful to Ash Mafire for providing this platform, for allowing us to be a part of Unpassive, and for being on this journey with him and with you all. This has been a wonderful, wonderful ride, a wonderful journey. And we're just looking forward to what's to come. And we know that things are going to be bigger, better, and brighter. Our future is brighter. And, God has ordained this and He's in control. And so, whenever He's in control, you may have to go through some things in order to get to where He wants you to be. So we're going through the journey, we're going through the process, and we'll get there. And when we do, it's going to be epic. So, yes, thank you so much. Julie Pierre, again, we're praying for you. We're praying for Chloe. We know that God is in control. He has you both covered. And, He knows what He's doing, even when we don't understand. He knows. So we really are praying for you, praying for Chloe, and knowing that God is in control, that He has her in His hands. And when she comes out, she's going to be even, better. And um, so much that she has gone through. And it's just a stepping stone for the place that God has her to be. And she'll be a testimony to so many people around the world. So we love you. We love Chloe. We're praying for you. And I'm going to turn it back over. If no one else has anything, did I miss anyone?
Excuse me, can I have a suggestion?
You said, did you say a question?
No, he has a suggestion.
Oh, a suggestion. I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
I do appreciate the way you asked to pray our daughter who is in hospital. But that will be grateful if we can pray for each time for Ash and his family and his enterprise. That will be great also, all the time before we start, like 2 or 1 minute, we can just pray for Ash, on passive, and the family, if we can do that. All the time I came to webinar,
You lost.
About that. We know that we pray individually, but if we are together today, it's about Ash. That means, for me, it's a suggestion. If we want to start a webinar, 1 or 2 minutes to pray for him, family, and the unpassive. If we can do that, that will be great. That is my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you for the suggestion, Cameron. Yes, we stopped and prayed for Julie today. We always, like you said, we're always praying for Ash separately, but we, at some point we can do a corporate prayer for, him and for everyone, his family. Thank you for that suggestion. Yes, absolutely.
Because they say, "Love all together, God is between us." Yes. If we are together and we ask, maybe from me, God will answer our prayer. Maybe for you, God will answer our prayer. We pray individual for a act and family, but it's better when we are together to pray for him and family. That's if you can do that, that will be great.
Yes, thank you. Yes. One can put 10,000, so two can do greater things, and the people that we have here can do, much more. So definitely, thank you so much. Thank you. And we're going to turn it over to our brother, Dr. John, with our final words and encouragement or whatever he has to say to us on tonight. It's been phenomenal, Dr. John. You have educated us. You have really shown us, enlightened us, put some into some of the myths behind, life insurance, and just showing us how we can use life insurance for more than just end of life, and how it's valuable in every aspect of life. Like businesses use it. So many people use it. Some things that we may not have known. The banks, everybody, that's how they use it to insure, to get money, to make money. So if they can do it, we definitely can do it. And we know that we may not be able to do some of those things as massive right now, but we know once on passive comes forth, that we'll be able to do some of those things and make some of those contributions, larger contributions that you were talking about, to help us to grow wealth, and then to leave generational wealth for our children and for generations to come, is what, Passive is all about. And that's what we're doing here. we're building wealth to be able to help generations to come, not only for our families, but for people around the world, for many projects that we want to do, projects that we have written down that we're in the process of getting off the ground. So with so many of these things, we'll be able to do that and to fund and to help people, that we around the world, people, just our neighbors and friends and families that are in need. And we know that everyone will need on passive, and one day we'll be able to bless them and share with them what we have, what we've been blessed with. So we'll be able to do that. So Dr. John, again, thank you so much. We're going to give the floor to you, and you have the final words, and blessings to everyone on tonight. Thank you, Dr. John.
Yeah, thank you very much, Queen Julie and Queen Joyce. Really, it's been an honor, and I'm really glad that, it doesn't really matter what somebody prepares and comes and shares. If there is no one to listen and also to be able to actually interact with, then it's not worth the time that you waste putting this together. So I really want to appreciate each and every one of you. My hope and my genuine hope is that you found this useful, and please don't just take it as information and then let's shove it away somewhere, but see whether it can be applicable to you, to somebody that you know, or even share it with others. That would be really where we can take this crusade forward. For everybody that asked a question this evening, I would really appreciate you. It forces us to go learn a bit more, and I hope that some of the answers that were given did help clarify whatever it is. This is a very challenging topic, especially because I have so much content and it's really difficult to figure out what to pull together to share to this group. But I really felt blessed that the number of people that were here at the beginning of the presentation actually stayed on. So it makes me feel that there was some value being provided. As I said, we are on a journey, and the only way that we can go far is if we go together. If we choose to go individually, we're going to tire out. My commitment to you, if there is any way that I can be of any assistance to you, reach out. Let's have a chat. It's most likely that at some point I'll say I don't know the answer, but when I tell you I don't know, my promise is okay. I'll try and find out if someone knows that can help, because there is no need keeping that information to just ourselves or keeping it to myself. The more that we're able to flourish together, the more that we're able to help others. So I just want to thank each and every one of you, the leaders of this platform, for the tremendous job that you do in the background. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to actually be here to support our sister's platform today, even though she's behind the camera. And yes, Bro Conlan, I think you made a good suggestion. The corporate prayers do have power, and I hope that we started it today by doing a corporate prayer to our sister and our little princess Chloe. And we'll continue to put each and every one of us in prayer, because we need the support of each other. We need the encouragement of each other. And we need to keep praying for our CEO and the people that are working 24/7 to really help us realize whatever dream each and every one of us have. I'm going to really just end here now, wishing each and every one of you a blessed night, morning, or whatever your time is. And I hope that we'll see each other again, either on this platform or on one of our other sister platforms, where we'll be able to provide some more learnings together, whether it be in Deep Dive, Dream Team, the Old Passion Singapore, the Mindset Monday, or even back here on Julie Pierre. So good night, everybody. Thank you, Queen Joyce, and I really wish you all a blessed evening.
Thank
Good
you, Dr.
night,
John.
everybody.
What an awesome webinar. We probably can stop the recording. Thank you guys for joining us, and this will end our official webinar. We'll stop the recording. But thank you for coming.
Thank you, Queen Joyce, for a great moderating tonight. Thank you, Queen Debbie, for a great mindset. Thank you, Dr. Benny, for the great welcoming, and also for our presenter tonight, Dr. John, as he said. Join Queen Miriam on Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for Mindset Monday. Deep dive on Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. On Tuesday, our Queen First Lady, Dr. Benny, is really taking us through a cybersecurity course. If you have not been, please join. Stay safe in 2024. And on Thursday, they're going deep in how to continue to create wealth and how to grow your wealth and how to stay healthy, because health is wealth as well. So, and then, of course, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, you join Julie Pierre Empowering Humanity. Her platform is here to empower us with knowledge, because the old book, and there's a saying that the lack of knowledge is no excuse. And they say, what? We die because of lack of knowledge. Then Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, one of our own great leaders as well as Sister Yvonne Finn is working with Dr. Mundi, One Global Movement. And then on Sunday, Sunday Dream Team at 12:45 Eastern Time. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to get connected, to get educated, to get excited, to get empowered, to work on our mindset. I know today the mindset, we'll talk about hope, faith, and everything. If we don't work on our mindset, we fall out of the wagon. I was surprised on platform, people were saying, I can't look into my account. Can you help me? I can't get to the OES. Where is the OES been today? That means we're not engaged. Let's keep engaged. Let's keep the flame burning. We're all in it to win it. And thank you all, the people that watch on YouTube later on, because this will be uploaded in YouTube. Thank you all for coming tonight. And I will stop the recording officially and we can chit chat. Thank you.
Thank you.